Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Box3 Motorsports. After taking a week off, we are here for the penultimate race of Season 6 PCACC. My name is Adam Thursby. Joining me, as always, my partner in crime, Phil Milwee. No camera for Phil this week. He's embarrassed because he's moving his office around and said it's just awful, and he didn't want anybody to see it.
I just didn't want you guys to see the bodies.
Got to get those hidden again, right? Wrapped up and back under the floorboards.
Yep.
Absolutely. Before we get into talking a little bit about standings and everything that's going on, we are in the free practice here at Hungaroring. Phil, I just got to say, I'm going to have to move Recovery Drive off of Thursdays.
Okay.
If doing Recovery Drive Friday night means you can attend, you brought so much to the show this week. I just want to thank you personally for that because it was fantastic having you there.
So I do have some stuff that happens on Friday, but I need to just talk with the folks that I normally do like board gaming group stuff with, but it could possibly work.
We'll find a way. I think we should. Yeah. I think we'll find a way.
Big thing for me is Tuesdays and Thursdays is usually just like locked out, and like Wednesdays I've also got to be like off like early. So, but yeah, we'll figure it out. But the Recovery Drive show was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to get to talk with Retro. It was a lot of fun to talk with Maddie and Pike. They're a good group of guys, and to get like their perspective, like getting really good conversation with them about the race and the series and stuff. It's really exciting.
Yeah, that's part of what I love about that show is getting to talk to the guys that are actually doing the driving. And we should get some other folks to join us. I had set that up and then I keep forgetting about it, so we can certainly get other drivers on. But yeah, I think we should work that out because you brought so much to the show and your analysis and how you go through data and what you see versus, I don't think I pay as much attention as you. Like you said yourself, you're a nerd, so like that stuff just sticks with you, right? And we're all nerds in some way. That's not me picking on you. It's a compliment, right? So
no offense taken. The thing I would say though, for anybody that is kind of like interested in the insights in the data, like what I'm doing here, it's not magic. And not only that, there is some significant guesswork involved. But the main thing that you always want to target when you're looking at data and stuff like that, you just pick like one statistic and say, okay, this guy's the best at this. And then start trying to figure out like, okay, he started this position in the race. He had like a really good pit stop. He finished this place in the race. Look around and see who around him, he or she, lost positions relative to that person's performance.
Yeah.
Once you kind of like start to figure that out, you start to learn a little bit about like, oh, well, this is kind of really like the canary in the coal mine sort of like way to measure this statistic.
Yeah. Nope. And like I said, you bring a lot to it. That's what I know. You bring a lot to it, and I love it.
The thing is, it's a really good show. It's a really good group. You guys we've had a really good season, and it's been a lot of fun. So getting inside with the guys was just a blast.
Absolutely. Let's talk about today's race, though, the Hungaroring. We are here for right now for AM and Pro-Am racing. It'll be 45 minutes today, leading up to next week's finale, a spa endurance race. That one I can't wait for. It's going to be fantastic. And we will have a special guest next week. I've been speaking to Mr. Huffman, and we will end up having a special guest during our giveaways and everything else that we have going on next week. Let's talk a little bit about AM class as we get into it. Michael Zwanenberg continues to lead. Now, SimGrid's still saying results are provisional based upon the finalization of the Imola. There was a hang up there. I think everything's done. I think penalties are accounted for, all of that. It's strictly that wild card thing that got thrown in was making it so they couldn't do it. So these standings I'm pretty sure are going to stick. I don't see them changing at all, so we can go through them anyway. Michael Zwanenberg leading in AM. Chris Finlay, John Rulin are current podium sitters, but Finlay and Rulin only 3 points apart. So I mean, and even Zwanenberg is only, 13 points ahead of Chris Finlay. That's one race. Like that's either this race or the next one. I mean, Bruce Hopkins even still in the running with 203 points with a race missed because every time Hopkins is here, he takes first. But I don't see him. I do see him. He is on the list.
It's close right now. Like the margins are very slim. The drop round is going to kind of throw a bit of confusion for everybody. It's going to throw some things up in the air. I think it was Fife that said in Recovery Drive that because that drop round exists, it's going to be really hard for people to kind of like figure out like where they're gonna land.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like that sort of
Yeah,
like
I
so.
like that it's this close to at the end, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
fantastic.
So
But as I said, we talk about AM class. There he is on your screen right now. Bruce Hopkins is on track today.
yeah, looks like you got
And
some questions about turning the music
yeah,
down.
it should already be gone. It's already gone. I flipped over. I didn't see that, but I flipped over
Or-
anyway. So I'll have to make
Yeah.
sure I adjust that when I come back. As I said, after that PC reload a week and a half ago, things might be a little off. So, but Bruce Hopkins taking first in every race he's in. He's only missed one this season. That's going to get real squirrely when we, like you said, when we start talking about the drop rounds.
Yeah, the drop rounds are gonna be interesting. I think Bruce Hopkins in particular though is kind of gonna be a bit of the outlier because him being here this week and him scoring first place in all but one race.
Mhm.
I mean, he's gonna have to really like throw it in the bin here at Hungaroring and probably throw it in the bin at Spa to really
Yeah.
get in a situation where he can't run away with this thing. So it's going to be, and the thing is that I'm really interested to see how Hungaroring works with the 296. So Bruce Hopkins is going to be kind of like the person I'm looking at. Michael Zwanenberg right now. Also really looking forward to seeing what Zwanenberg can do
Mhm.
in the 296 around here. But yeah, it's going to be fun to watch.
Going to be a ton of fun. I can't wait. Glendino in the chat wanting to know what are these drivers racing for this season, and it's not about who's in first. I'll tell you that right now. It is about participation levels, and we're going to give these away next week at the end of the Spa race. First up, Next Level Racing's HF8 haptic feedback system is going to one of the drivers in one of the drivers of any class, and there goes Bruce Hopkins for qualifying already up to the top of the list. Also, SimTrack USA providing a custom dashboard, and their Big Huff said their CEO, SimTrack USA CEO, is going to join us next week during the race. So I have yet to figure that out, but he is going to join us in the commentary booth and get along. You know, I think that's going to be a lot of fun being able to talk to them. I really want to try this HF8 haptic feedback system. I really would love to throw that down. And I like a custom dashboard. I use a phone. I think Phil, we talked about that. Don't you do the same or something similar?
No. I actually
No?
don't use any kind of dashboard.
Oh.
I've always been fascinated with custom dashboards. I would go that route over having the display mounted directly in the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been interested in the custom dashboard route. So that's kind of like more my speed. But
Gotcha.
but yeah, and not only that too, like the SimTrack stuff, like the peripheral manufacturers and stuff like that. I always really like learning a little bit about like what the different players in the market are like interested in terms of like the different products to like increase immersion for people, because
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that is one of the bigger draws of sim racing is want that experience and that feeling like they're driving inside a real car.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I use a phone for a dashboard, but to your point, I prefer that over something on the wheel anytime, because the wheel turns and then suddenly you can't read it right without cranking your head 90 degrees to the side.
It's so weird. For whatever reason, our biology is set up so that our eyes don't rotate. So actually rotate around. So for me, like turning a wheel 90 degrees kind of makes it obscured a little bit or hard to read.
Mhm.
So, and plus also I really don't want to cock my head 90 degrees just so that I can see what my dashboard is saying, because I'm old, my neck would snap.
Yeah, I'm gonna have pulled muscles the next morning. That's for sure. Us older fellas can't get away with that kind of thing. Let's talk about Pro-Am while we're here, though. Ivan Zolotarov leads the Pro-Am class for this season. Bob Charlton not too far back. Bob Charlton, though, tied with Steven Music in third, 229. Ed Walsh is there just outside with a 226. Adam Willey on with a 225. I mean, the top 10 is just littered. Now, let's say down to the top 8. You got DJ Stevens, Kenny O'Connor tied for P7 and P8 there. Tristan Yonendijk in at P6 with 211 points. I mean, this is so close. But Zolotarov has 3 wins this season. Obviously has been doing a fantastic job. He has not missed any races. He is here today, I believe. Yep, there he is. He's still sitting in the pits, haven't qualified yet.
F1 Me Machine is here.
Absolutely. He is very rapid. We'll see him qual here in just a little bit. But yeah, so I see Zolotarov continuing to run with this in Pro-Am.
Yeah.
But everything else is so. But again, round 1 finished 5th. It takes 1 or 2 of those here at the Hungaroring at Spa next week, and Bob Charlton or Steven Music is right up there, right? So
yeah. It's like I said, the field it's pretty tightly packed. I'm super excited to see how the last 2 rounds go.
Yep. 100%. Bruce Hopkins taking pole position back from Michael Zwanenberg, 145, and now Zwanenberg takes it back with a 145.1.
That was a monster lap from Zwanenberg, and he lost like I want to say like 8/10 somewhere on track.
Well,
like he was up over a second and then came across the line with like barely like 3/10 on Bruce Hopkins. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the qualifying shakes out.
It will, because now he's already up another half second on his own fastest time. Sitting up, 1/10 now. It dropped back. He lost a little bit, but still running out hard. Now I am going to go ahead and jump over to talk about the Silver and Pro Class standings, because it seems like we always get caught out right before and have to jump right into the race. We never really have an opportunity to talk about those. Silver Class standings: Brandon Pfeiffer leading that series. John Gray down in second, only by 2 points though. Those two guys are really going to battle this out. We'll see. Hopefully they're both here this week. I didn't hear about either of them not being here, so hopefully we'll get to see them battle again. Only 2 points separating those two. Terry Driscoll in third with 222 points. Drew Burakovsky in fourth, and Vadik in fifth, along with Jace Wright, Mike Burkhoff, Matt Comiskey, Rob Kesar, and Louis Ricard rounding out the top 10 in silver. I don't know. You think Driscoll or Burakovsky can get up there with Fife and Gray? I mean, obviously anything can happen. We know that, but
so shout out to Driscoll. Like I really feel like I did not pay attention to Driscoll as much early on in the season. First of all, I think it's between Gray and Fife for me. My money's on that's the battle. But to see Driscoll like move up in the standings with like just like consistently showing up, consistently finishing races, driving the M4 early on when it wasn't really like high up in the meta, that kind of thing. Like hats off to Driscoll. And just to see an M4 like up in the podium positions for the final of the season, I think would be a good showing to people that in these like in the non-esports realm, the meta kind of doesn't matter as much. And if you are like building yourself as a sim racer, you pick a car that you're good with, and you do like Driscoll does. You just put in the results, show up every day, put in the results. And so yeah, hats off to Driscoll on that.
Well, and that's the thing too. That's what he's doing, right? I mean, listen, there's a couple reasons we do and or do not talk about drivers here, right? But if we talk about the reasons we do talk about drivers, it's either because they're battling with someone constantly, right? Entirely possible. I see qualifying's coming to an end for those guys, so the Pro-Am drivers will now be coming out on track. It's either because they're constantly battling in some fashion or another, or they're involved in a lot of incidents. That's the negative way we focus on drivers, right?
Yeah.
To your point, someone like Driscoll, they don't talk much about Driscoll, right? He just kind of tools along and is able to hold some positions. I mean, he hasn't hit podium yet this season, but overall he's in third. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's relatively consistent. He stays out of trouble. We don't see him getting in incidents, and he just goes. So
yeah, the only time you want to really get recognized in these sorts of fields is when you're like the front runner by a margin.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, you don't want people to even remember you were there. And that's mainly because it's like you show up, you put in the result, go back, you work on the next track, you show up next week, do it all over again.
Yep.
And by not being that person who's constantly getting nailed with like penalty points, getting quali bans, all this other stuff, like you can seriously make gains in the more amateur category. And again, hats off to Driscoll. He's doing everything right. So we got the Pro-Ams out on track for qualifying, but what about the AM like results so far.
AM quality results right now. We're looking at Michael Zwanenberg starting in front of Bruce Hopkins. So
And that gap though, 4/10, like that, like if that turns into race pace gap, like Hopkins trouble.
yeah, but again, every race this season he's been first.
Yeah, and you know what? And the thing that I'll say about Bruce Hopkins, and a shout out to Bruce Hopkins on this one, is like another one of those drivers that like gets out in front by way of keeping it clean and just getting out in front, not making mistakes. The thing that has produced Hopkins results by far, like he's quick for AM category, that's for sure, but he doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah. Yep. He's out and he's consistent. And to your point, he gets himself out in front and he minds his business, right?
Yep.
And just tries to drive his race. You don't see him making dangerous moves on back markers. You don't see him doing anything twitchy or weird that, you know, taking a nosedive in on a corner on a back marker. You don't see, he bides his time, he waits his turn. And again, that keeps him out of trouble and allows him to just continually be consistently up there in first. Now, that's not to say Michael Zwanenberg does get in trouble. I just think Hopkins has had this ability to, as you said, get out in front and then just stay there. Like that, he's just going to stay there, right?
I think like if Zwanenberg had a little bit better luck early on in the season, we'd see a bit of a tighter fight between him and Bruce Hopkins. But yeah, like the both Zwanenberg, Hopkins, big standouts for me. Hopkins in particular has kind of like picked up kind of where he left off with respect to like watching him like develop.
Okay.
Because he raced in previous leagues that I did commentary.
Gotcha.
So I mean, he was a cool customer in that environment, and he's just transitioned to here. Different people. Same approach, similar results. Like I'm not surprised at all. Zwanenberg, while I don't necessarily know a lot about Michael, his pace in the 296 has been really good for most of the season. He's had a few really sketchy races, and again, I feel like if circumstances were different, we'd see a tighter fight in the front.
No, for sure. These guys still having a great fight, and I'm curious to see where they both land today in that AM class heading into Spa for next week. Let's talk about Pro for a minute. Tobias Gable, Charlie Booth, and Christoph Arts on podium 1, 2, and 3 respectively for the Pro class this season. Great to see Tobias Gable up at the top there. As with all the others, though, only leads by 3 points over Charlie Booth, and Charlie Booth only 1 point ahead of Christoph Arts right now. So like all the other classes, these are all, I think everything's up for grabs all the way through until next week. We talk about the rest. Dimitri Athwal in 4th, Jarrett Skinner in 5th, Anthony Anderson, Tom Foose, Retro Coffin, Timothy Glendinning, and Rick Pixel round out the top 10. I gotta say, it is hard seeing Anthony Anderson in 6th place.
I mean, the one thing I'll say there is I'm very interested to see how that order shakes up with the drop round.
Yeah.
I don't think Anthony's out of it by sight, and additionally, I really feel like the drop round is gonna shuffle that order. It's kind of just really down to, can people develop enough of a gap relative to who they're racing against currently on the standings before the drop round calculates. Because if you can build enough of a gap where you might have like lost ground to your competitors in a really bad round, but that's the one that gets scratched, all of a sudden your stock shoots up. So to me, like, the standings for a good chunk of the categories, probably with the exception of Pro-Am, it's really TBD with what standings are going to end up with.
Absolutely. It's things are going to get a little tussled. Now, Anderson did miss the last race at Imola, so he's missing points there, and obviously we have to see again what everyone else pulls off to not as far as that drop round goes. So We will keep an eye on the standings. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I can't wait. The sad part is we're not going to know at the end of next week's race. That's kind of the sucky part, you know.
It'll be tough to know. It'll be tough to know, but I think we'll start to have a better impression about like how things are going to shake out. At least I think I'll have a good enough guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but we'll see. But man, that 44, is that a 44.3 from?
Yeah, 44.37.
God, man, Zolotarov is just somewhere else right now.
Yep. And he's still up by a tenth too, going into this next lap, or in this next lap.
This is just wild. Like I can't believe it. And there's what we were talking about in recovery drive. Those curves are very deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, the difference, like we talked about it during Imola, where like approaching Variante Alta in like a lower seated car like a McLaren, the curb is noticeably tall. Like you can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Hungaroring, most of the curves look relatively flat, but there's just enough of generates just enough undulation or vibration in the car to cause it to lose mechanical grip.
Gotcha.
We kind of saw that with Zolotarov just now on his lap as he was going turn 6 and 7.
A little bit of a shimmy through the chicane right there, yeah. Bob Charlton up half a second right now.
Yeah, Bob needs a good recovery round after Imola. Imola just seemed not to be Bob's track. Couple of moments off at the Villeneuve chicane.
Mm-hmm.
Another 296 driver, and to be honest, like relative to like you take Zolotarov out of the equation, and relative to the rest of Pro-Am, kind of really on pace with everyone else. Kind of like with Adam Willey. Adam Willey kind of really on pace with the rest of like Pro-Am.
Mm-hmm.
Zolotarov is just kind of like this like mysterious like fifth category.
He'll be in silver next season.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. If he doesn't end up in silver, I'm gonna be like, who's doing statistics?
Right
over there.
Taking a look here though, your boy Blue, it looks like has not set a lap yet, along with a few other of these drivers. No, they do have them in 146s, setting them way back in mixed in around amongst the AM drivers for Hungaroring.
Hungaroring, it's a tough track.
It's pretty mixed up.
I think this is going to be one of the toughest races for the field.
Okay.
It's a very technical track, and I wish I wish everyone the best. It's going to be a tough race.
It is, and qualification has now come to an end. Just a few drivers out there. Your boy Blue is up by 3/10 right now. See if he can bump himself up a little higher. He can hold on to it. While we wait here, and before we get to the grid walk and all of that, oh, can I do the grid walk? I don't know if I can. Why is my grid walk not there? Oh, there it is.
You can't do the grid walk. It's okay.
Oh no, it'll be there. We just might have to smack it around a little bit. Talk to me a little bit about Hungaroring, Phil. You said it's a tough track, it's a technical track. How do you compare Hungaroring? I mean, I've driven there as well, but how do you compare Hungaroring to like Imola? Or let's talk about the races that are closest to our mind. Imola 2 weeks ago, and Spa coming up next week. What sets this apart as being a little more difficult?
So I feel like it is more technical than Imola. Imola's like top speed is really good for a track like Imola, even with the technical sections. It's a power circuit. Okay. Spa is like the upper echelon, like the S tier power circuit. So Hungaroring is going to be it's going to be much more technical than Imola or Spa.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I really think that with the mixture so let's talk about in the context of ACC at large, what does a track like Hungaroring mean? In 1.9, we've seen increased they changed the tire model, so we're going to see increased fluctuation in temperatures. We're going to see increased fluctuation in degradation. At a track like Hungaroring, that going to cost you lap time.
Gotcha.
So the people that are going to be able to nail their performance relative to what their pace is, and reduce the amount of spins, reduce the amount of off tracks, nail your pit stops, that's going to be a recipe for success around here at Hungaroring, I think.
Okay.
So that's kind of what Hungaroring means to me relative to like Imola and Spa.
Perfect. Okay, makes sense. One thing I just noticed and need to hold on here. Oh no, where'd it go? Come on now. Kidding me? Oh, this is getting on my nerves now. If I'm being honest.
It does look like it's doing a
There we go.
gridlock.
It
just
is.
automatically changed.
Yeah, it's doing it. It's just change that. Change it. There we go. There we go. So there you see. I'm sorry it took a second, guys. Ivan Zolotarov going to lead us off with Steven Music in row 1. Bob Charlton, Michael Zwanenberg sharing row 2. Adam Willey gets himself into 5th during qualifying, sharing the row with Bruce Hopkins. Josh Butler, Edward Walsh in the next row. Yeah, okay, I'm reading that right. Sorry, I was looking at something mixed up. Ed Walsh in the number 19 McLaren right there. The only McLaren this season, I believe. Steven Tomazic in the Porsche, number 43 car. Going to share the row with Alex Martin in the Lexus. I love Alex's liveries. He really does a good job on those.
Yeah.
Just so, it stands out so much. Chris Finlay, John Rulin in row 6 together. That Yitcows Racing Moza car, the 318 of John Rulin. Kenny O'Connor, Nick Paquin sharing row 7. Paquin again, another Yitcow Racing. A lot of Yitcow people around here.
Yeah, I think Blue is just like recruiting the entire ACC world.
Just gets everybody. Figures if you throw enough spaghetti at the wall, you're going to win at some point.
It guarantees you recognition if like you already control or you already have the majority of the drivers.
There you go.
It's very easy to win championship.
It is. Sure. Look, a Honda on track today. Terrell Seens Taylor driving the number 224. Frank Reynolds, the Warthog, returns in the number 3 car. That green Porsche, lime green Porsche. And Tristan Yonendijk will bring up the back of the pack today as we get started here at the Hungaroring. One thing I want to point out, we talked about how Bruce Hopkins in AM class has just been dominating every race he's in, taking first place every time. There is a car between him and Zwanenberg. He's going to have to work if he wants first today. Just off the jump. They're not in the same row, anything. So, I mean, he's a row back. He's got Adam Willey between the two of them. Willey having the inside line into T1. He's going to have to work to catch Zwanenberg today. That's for sure.
So one thing to note in my opinion, it definitely looks like the 296 is suited for Hungaroring. Yeah, there's a lot of Ferraris up at the top. That you bring up a good point, but I feel like there's definitely something to look at in the broader scheme. Mm-hmm. And that is, what is turn 1 going to look like? That
I wanted to talk to you about that next, because the last time we were at Hungaroring, turn 1 was not fun for anybody.
It's so tough.
Yeah. I'm not sure that anybody made it out unscathed between turn 1 and turn 2 in the last race. I know the pro and silver split the last time we were here was just brutal. In fact, I want to say it was kind of different because if I'm remembering correctly, turn 1 there was a little bit of a pileup, but didn't involve that many cars. But turn 2 is where everything just went straight to hell. So
I mean, the field's gonna just get super compressed into turn 1,
mm-hmm.
and then the exit out of turn 2, depending on how much we see in the way of shenanigans, it's gonna make turn 2 crowded as well. Sector 1 at the start of the race, usually pretty dramatic around here at Hungaroring. It takes until everybody gets through like turn 6 and 7 to kind of like cool down and then mm-hmm. like line up and really start settling into a race. But turn 1 in particular is notoriously I would venture to say that in league racing, if you set aside open lobbies, Hungaroring is the toughest turn 1 in ACC. period.
I mean,
So
look, we all know Monza, right? And I think,
yeah,
and that one's famous for what happens. But I'd agree with your point that I think, you know, when we run a Monza, you have a driver's meeting, everybody gets turn one beat into their heads, and it's not to say there are never incidents, but I think they're not anywhere near as bad as Hungaroring because for some reason, turn one at Hungaroring is just insane. And there's so, I mean, look, you're coming down so fast, even off the line. It's a long straight. You're coming down fast. Everybody compresses up. I mean, again, last time we were here, we saw people off into the grass, and then they just become, once they're in that inside grass, they just become a bullet straight across the corner.
Yeah.
And whoever's in the way, sorry, I hope you enjoyed the 2 seconds of racing you got as we kick it off today. And we are green at the Hungaroring for 45 minutes, AM and Pro-Am racing. 3 wide already back there. Look at this. And yep, into the wall. We've got one already. Bruce Hopkins getting caught up. Looks like he was able to escape most of it, though. This things look pretty clean coming through there. Nope.
It just went bad for, I believe that's Josh Butler in the Fanta Porsche.
Is that Butler? No, that's the 881 car is, yeah, Josh Butler. You're right. What happened there? Let's back up.
I think he's dealing with damage into turn one.
Yeah, he went, well, I believe he's the one that went into the wall.
Yep.
You know, there were 3 wide and Bruce Hopkins pushed in a little bit. Chain reaction, you know, and knocked Butler into the wall, but it seemed like he got back out on the track and was fine. But then into T1 just started struggling. Looks like he lost control coming through it.
Well, the thing about a good chunk of the turns in Sector 1 in particular have off-cambered nature on corner exit. Mm-hmm. So if you're on the apex of the corner and the corner starts to fall away, gravity just wants to pull you in a straight line to the outside of the corner. And it's down to your mechanical grip in some of these low-speed corners to keep you stuck on track. Remember, they're starting the race. They're on cold tires. He took damage into the wall. That's just a tough bill of goods. No question about it.
Oh, and Steven Music with problems. What happened to Steven here? Let's back that up because him and oh, come on with this, really?
The camera.
The camera sometimes is just insane.
Yeah. It's man, he almost got deleted.
Yeah, he did.
I think that might have been Tristan.
Wow.
Jonadike, who I mean, he's just trying to exit. He's just trying to exit turn 12, and and then all of a sudden there's Ferrari coming back on track.
Bruce Hopkins now down to 6th, falling 2 places back from Michael Zwanenberg. Still in 2nd in class, but dropped the space to Ed Walsh and Adam Willey. So now
Ed Walsh had a hell of a start, it looks like.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely. But now Bruce being chased down by Tomazic.
But the thing, if I'm Bruce right now, I'm not panicking. Like I've been first place in every race that I've raced so far. I've got a drop round in the bag to use for the absence. Like, you're just focusing on a good result.
Yeah.
And the way that you're going to get there is you're not going to panic. You're not going to force any issues. You're just going to do, you know, kind of almost what Bruce Hopkins does, which is just like head down and go.
Yeah.
Steven Tomazic going through turn 6, turn 7, that chicane just caught him out.
Yep. It looks like he's running slow. I mean, Alex Martin, Nick Paquin, both able to get around. Now John Rule and Chris Finlay right there. Yep. I wonder if he's struggling with hardware issue or something that's slowing him up a little bit.
Hardware issues slowing him up could be that something that we just didn't see in the shot. Man, this camera is terrible.
You like that? That is the
wow.
worst. I mean,
that is just like, I mean,
you couldn't give that guy a seat on the ground.
Talk about free advertising, but geez.
I guess.
That said, like Thomas, it looks like he might be struggling, but the thing is that, again, 1.9, deal with the fluctuation in variability for the tires. Just get them back in the window. Just settle yourself down and start putting in the laps. Ed Walsh looks like he's getting on the defensive here with Adam Willey.
He is. Walsh up 4 spots so far today, so had a great jump off the start of this race. And the other one, I gotta wait for this to, no, I don't.
You don't. No one can stop you. You can't be stopped.
Nick Paquin and Tristan Jonendijk both up 7 spots today so far.
Yeah, that was a big jump for those guys.
Yeah, great jump for them. Talking about Tristan Yonendijk in a battle now with Steven Music. Steven Music down position after a spin.
Well, just watching Tristan Yonendijk in turn 3, we got to talk about it. Drive-through penalties.
Uh-oh.
They're gonna happen. 100% gonna happen. And that right there is exactly what we're talking about. Turn 3, turn 4, getting ready to go into sector 2. They're high-speed corners. It is very easy, especially when you're fighting folks side by side, for somebody to get shoved off track. For anybody that watched the Silverstone F1 race, that sort of thing in these tracks that do happen to have high-speed corners happens all the time.
Somebody's going to find themselves taking a slow trip through pit lane today, is what you're saying. As Chris Finlay,
Joker laps are on offer.
Chris Finlay struggling now, spun out off track. Let's see. Nope, caught curb, and that's all it took. Spun himself right around.
Yep.
I never found out, just personally, we talked about curbs a little bit earlier, but I never had issue really with the only, and knowing I drive Audi as a main, the only problem I ever had with curbs at Hungaroring was the chicane.
So,
like, the rest of them seem, as to your point earlier, pretty flat that you can just take them whole hog. So it's a little surprising right there to see that he got unsettled enough to spin the car.
Yeah. So the person who's watched a lot of sim racing and who's like done a little bit of like teamwork and stuff like that before, the thing that I would say to that point you just made is that probably means you're not trying to take enough.
Okay.
Like, that probably means you need to take more of the curb. Try and straighten the corner as much as possible, because like with everything in sim racing, you're trying to extract the best lap time from corner to corner.
Right.
The only if you think about a curb like on a left hand corner or something like that, the only question you need to answer is how far to the left can I take? And then what that limit is, I want to be millimeters to the right of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And we're seeing some good fighting here. And there we go. Steven Music getting into the back end of, I couldn't see who that was. Was that DJ Stevens?
I think it was, yeah. Steven. Yeah, Steven's now dropping back.
Turn 8, 9. We're going to see more of that. This is the part of the track where people get impatient. It's very tricky to pass around here, but it is possible. But coming out of the chicane, that is, I think, a bit of frustration or a hardware failure. That car's rolling back on track. I think there's something wrong. I'm hoping that's technical.
I'd say Stevens has some sort of hardware failure there. Luckily, rolled off track. It looks like he just died in the water because he just rolled right off track. Let me get back. I don't know why we jumped to Alex Martin. Oh, that's why. DJ Stevens with a disconnect.
I hope that's not out of frustration. That sort of thing happens. Again, I'm serious when I say this. Hungaroring is going to be the toughest track this season. People are going to get feisty. They're going to get impatient. It's very hard to pass. There are really good passing opportunities on track. If you can line up on the inside of turn 12, you can line up on the inside of turn 1, turn 2. Like, there are places where you can get the move done. Turn 8 and 9 in particular, in my opinion, that's the no-no zone. Don't, because those curves are very deceptive. You take too much of the inside, you become a passenger, and the only thing that can save you from going into a wall is if there's another car next to you. I don't know if that's necessarily what happened there, but I've seen that sort of thing happen more than once.
Yeah. No, and I'm just taking a look and trying to remember in my own head, because it has been so long since I've driven a Hungaroring, probably a year at this point. You're right, 8 and 9, they're relatively speedy corners, right? Particularly 8. You're not. I wouldn't call it that mid speed, maybe.
Yeah,
they're not low speed corners.
Yeah,
right?
they're mid speed corners. They're not coming out of a high speed straight throw on the anchors.
Yeah.
Kind of situation. But because of their mid speed nature and because of the fact that they aren't necessarily that narrow, it kind of almost invites trouble for fighting on track, which is unfortunately kind of what we saw unfold, which is a bummer.
It is, and I'll just speak for myself. I know drift out a little too far, to your point, you're going to hook up and you're going to come out of turn 8, hook up on the outside, and have it throw you into the wall at T9, right?
I mean, if I'm thinking about the incident that we saw, that right there was like bare knuckle brawling, basically. And but again, it's just, again, Hungaroring is one of those tracks where this is not the first time we're going to see that happen this race. I can guarantee you.
Steven Tomazic attacking the back end of Nick Paquin now.
Should say not. It was the first. It won't be the last.
Won't be the last.
That one.
Chris Finlay into the pits. Not sure if he's stopping or if he's pulled a penalty.
Car does look fantastic. I love seeing a 488 in the field.
All right. Waiting to see if Steven Tomazic is going to make a move to the inside here. Oh, a hard turn in from Nick Paquin. My goodness.
That's turn 12. Like the thing is that if you let somebody get alongside you on the inside line, you got to you better be prepared for trouble. And what Nick Paquin was like is like this is my corner. I'm taking the turn in. You either back out of it or we're both taking a trip.
Well, it looked like they survived at least. No contact that time. Tristan Yonendijk under pressure from Steven Music a little further back.
Yeah. Like apparently Hungary just like its greatest export is spicy racing, because Hungaroring very much delivers on like hard fighting on track, because again, the difficulty to pass is there and people just get feisty.
You know, for me, I think Hungaroring, I put it for myself and how I drive, I put it with Laguna Seca. Insofar as that there are corners on both tracks that I have never quite felt right going around, right?
Okay.
You know, if you talk about like a T1, again, it's a long straight, drop the anchor, get it way down and turn in, right? It's a stand. But there are some of these corners that just I've never felt comfortable on. And same with Laguna Seca if we talk about turn 3 and 4 at Laguna. I've never been able to line them up well. The corner after the corkscrew, same thing. I've never just felt it when I've driven it.
Yeah.
And I can say that here as well if you talk about like turn 3, turn 4, 6 and 7, not so much, but maybe turn 9, same thing, right? It's made me less able to enjoy the track, even though I know it's a good track. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that. That is a bad spin, but I think he kept it largely like there's a little tap of the wall, but I don't got too much into it. But immediately on the throttle, trying to get it back on the track, and here he goes. He's
spin
Tokyo
again?
drifting.
Oh, yes, he did.
I can't tell if he's spinning or if there's like an issue. Well,
Steven Tomazic now dropping back. Hold on.
I can tell you what that was. I can tell you what that second one was. Is your rears are hot. Your rears probably got it. In fact, I need to check the temperature real quick. What are we dealing with in terms of track temps? It looks like it's 32°C on track, which is hot, but not in the upper echelon, not in the upper 30s. So you get a really bad spin or a couple bad moments on overpressured rear. Yeah, exactly. Like it's like
Bob Charlton struggling as well all of a sudden as he spins himself.
Yep, and he had to wait too because approaching turns 6 and 7, you got the Ed Walsh, Adam Willey train.
And Glendino, I will go on board with Tomazic here as soon as I can, but we had some. So Steven Music ends up spinning himself in turn 1, dropping back. You have who were we looking at before that? Bob Charlton spins, and it was
Tristan Yonendijk.
Tristan Yonendijk, that's right. Okay, so all 3 cars, all within about 30 seconds of each other, losing it on track. As we watched Steven Music now attack the back end of John Rulin, and we will go on board with Tomazic here in just a moment.
Mechanical grip is the currency you want to deal in at a track like Hungaroring. You definitely want to have good, solid mechanical, good aero grip as well. Good aero grip, being able to have drag to like help slow the car, a good deal. Also having a little bit of good rear aero to keep the car from snapping in some of the more high-speed corners.
Okay.
That's going to be a good deal, man. This shot into turn 1. And see how the corner falls away to the left as you start to exit. Now we're coming to turn 2, and you're going to see the same thing. Apex, and then the right side of the track is just going to start to drop as he starts to go downhill, because that's what you're doing. You're going downhill, but the inside of the track is still raised. So that whole like off-camber nature of turn 1, turn 2 catches a lot of people out. For anybody that watched the Valtteri Bottas bowling incident when it was the wet Hungaroring in F1, same deal. Like, you got no grip, corners off camber. Like, once you start to understeer, gravity's just like, okay, you're going in a straight line now.
Right ahead here, you see John Rulin. Steven Music made a little bit of contact through the chicane. Nothing race ending.
Indeed.
But now Steven Tomazic might look to join as these two battle. Might be his turn to join into it.
I'm just kind of focused in on Tomazic's like steering inputs in the Porsche. Like, he seems to be keeping it pretty smooth now that he's trying to get the rears under control. I really wish we could see what his rear tire temperatures are, especially in the Porsche, the 992. Because what was it? Retro was talking about this. Like, it is very difficult to drive the 992. That is a very wide exit. That's probably going to count against his. He gets 3 of those before he gets a penalty. Yeah. John Rulin looks like he's letting Steven Music go by. John Rulin, only Lambo in the field right now, and in my opinion, doing a pretty decent job of it. Tomazic on the switchback going into turn 2. Rulin just keeping it.
By.
Yeah. Rulin keeping it clean. Nick Paquin's yellowed flagged. Whoa, and he is sideways on the track. And unfortunately, no. I think Rulin got caught up.
He did.
Didn't know how to get around it.
Let's back up 30 seconds here and see what happened to Nick Paquin.
Nick Paquin going into that turn. Oh no, he's in turn 2. No, the spin had to have happened at turn 3. Did he take too much of the inside curb and then lose the rear?
Right there.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. And then
and yeah, then he sits, he's waiting.
Oh, I see what happened. When John Rulin tried to turn to get to the inside, probably carrying too much speed, and the rear probably went started to go on him.
Well, I do have to say, look, I mean, we're getting a lot of toss up here today. Michael Zwanenberg currently leading in AM class, Ivan Zolotarov up front for Pro-Am, but I gotta tell you, a lot of changes. Bob Charlton having fell back, Tomazic having fallen back, Nick Paquin having fallen back, and a lot of these all because of spinning themselves, right?
We've also seen that incident.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there's been a few incidents, but overall, the big position changes we've seen of people losing position is because of curbing and catching themselves out, right? And swinging those heavy back ends around, and it just decides to keep on going.
Let me tell you, the fact that this was going to be a tough race, I was 100% sure of it. But the one thing that I was not 100% sure of, I was not 100% sure that Ivan Zolotarov was already getting ready for Spa, because he's 13 and a half seconds ahead of the field, and there's 26 minutes left in this race.
I know. He's just running with it. And he's not racing against slow drivers here. Michael Zwanenberg, very quick. Edward Walsh, very quick. Edward Willie now finds himself back up into 4th. So Willie doing well today. I believe, I don't know if I'm wrong, that should put Willie on podium in class, right?
I think so. Oh. Oh no, it's Zwanenberg. Yeah. So with Zwanenberg in second, it should be Zolotarov, Walsh, and Willie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's correct. We do have some mandatory pits that have happened. Got You're My Boy Blue, I think is one of them. I did not see. It does look like Terrell Scenes Taylor took an early pit as it did Chris Finlay. So minute 7 for Finlay, a minute 2 for Terrell Scenes Taylor, and a minute 4 for Youngwood. And then we got Kenny O'Connor and John Rowland. John Rowland's pit stop's going to be a while. He took a shot.
Oh.
And it does look like Bob Charlton and
Zwanenberg heading in.
I don't. Yeah, they're heading in now. Charlton and Zwanenberg. I'm gonna keep my eye on them.
B-Fife in the chat asking, how does the race going? How would you describe how the race is going, Phil?
Dramatic. That's what I would. I think. I knew this race was going to be tough. And it's not what I'm seeing on track. Not. I mean, by and large, it's been mostly clean, so that's been good. But the spins and the accidents and stuff like that, totally expected to see it.
Well, I was going to say, I think I think back to that episode from Futurama where the guy's twirling, and that was the first thing that popped into my head when I wanted to answer Fife's question. Just twirling into the future. So,
yeah, it is.
Watch your curbs, buddy. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough track. It's very tough.
Alex Martin under pressure from Steven Tomazik.
Alex Martin's going to have a struggle bus of a race with the Lexus around here. It is not a good track for the Lexus. But in 6th right now, we do have some folks that have pitted early in front, so that's not really representative of where Alex's position currently is. But Lexus is going to be a struggle bus around here.
23.5 minutes left to go in the first of 2 races today. Don't forget to come back and stick around for... Oh, I'm sorry, Forzy, I am just now seeing that you are looking for car number 7 on board as Edward Walsh and Adam Willey both head into the pits. Now, hold on. To car 7, Martin. Do you want car number 7 or
I think
P7?
he meant P7 because Martin's, I think, 94.
Yeah, well, Martin's now into the pits, so we'll wait until he's finished before we do an onboard. That'd be kind of boring watching him onboard sitting in the pits. But as I was saying, folks, stick around. This is just the first race of today's doubleheader. Our Pro and Silver class drivers coming up right after this.
Josh Butler, after taking that shot early in the race, I think he's been limping that car around and doing a pretty decent job of it from the looks. By the way, Bob Charlton, a 104.1, and Ed Walsh was a 110. So Ed Walsh just now coming out of the pits of 1 minute 11 was his pit stop. So I don't know if he was dealing with damage or what. Adam Willey's got a 3-second advantage on him with 108.
Oh, wow.
Alex Martin with a 105. Good pit stop for him. Nick Paquin's in there right now. We're going to see what Nick can post up.
Paquin and Dyke both in the pits.
It's like a 107.0 for Nick and Tristan Dyke in the pits as well. So we're seeing the pit stops come in. Zwanenberg, that 105, really good pit stop for him. Pretty sure he's going to be able to extend on both Willie and Walsh. He had slower pit stops for sure.
On board with Alex Martin in the number 94 Lexus.
Best sounding GT3 in the game.
You're lying. Don't stop lying to yourself.
No.
And our audience. That's just rude.
That is the best sounding GT3 in the game. No question. No question for me. I drove the Lexus for a long time, and it is near and dear to my heart. But yeah, best sounding GT3. No question.
Right now, Martin going to attack the back end of Frank Reynolds.
Porsche should definitely have an advantage on the Lexus around here. It should be a more nimble package for Hungaroring. Notice him go on taking an early defensive line into turn 12. The problem with that is that if Alex gets keen to that, he can just like roll it into the corner, off at turn 13.
Frank Reynolds, I have a feeling, letting Alex cruise on by.
And Alex, not sure where Frank was going to end up on the inside line, and now he should just use the Lexus to just kind of like drive away. But again, it's not a super long start finish straight, so the Lexus really doesn't get to show its straight line potential.
Saw yellow on Steven Music and Steven Tomazik, so I don't know if they possibly came together or were just leaving. I don't think they were leaving the pits.
Back to what the discussion happened with the discussion we had with Recovery Drive. I'm really fascinated that Retro said that both himself and a good chunk of Porsche drivers that he knows are seriously considering reverting back to the 991 Mark II.
Wow.
Like that was a surprising statement to hear. Mm-hmm. It's kind of something that I was kind of curious what people thought, like what was really better about the 991 or the 992. But it looks like the 992 just a more difficult car to drive and just like a lesser form of the 991.
The hair can handle it though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. We really need to get scrutineering to take a look and see if the double diffuser with the mullet is allowed.
Yeah, we should.
Because
it's got to violate some kind of rule. Bruce Hopkins, Jester Fluke now into the pits. That will leave Josh Butler up front, need to make his pit stop, along with Frank Reynolds. Clear before the end of this race. Just under 19 minutes left to go. Really a lot of drama in this first race, and not I would say not bad drama, right? We saw very few very little car on car violence. However, Bruce Hopkins now yellowed as he comes out of the pits. Perfect. But a lot of self-destruction for this race.
I mean, that's just Hungaroring again. It's a tough track to drive around on. I do think the DJ Stevens incident in I believe it was turn 8, turn 9, probably should get a peek, because I'm just kind of curious, because with Tristan Yonendijk kind of bearing down on him, which Tristan didn't look like he was involved in the incident at all. But I'm just kind of interested to see what the results of that would look like from a review perspective. I wonder if it'll get reported. Bruce Hopkins, just kind of doing what Bruce Hopkins does. Just keeping his head down, trying to do his race. You see in the 296 right now going through turn 8, turn 9. He's keeping up with Steven. He did just come out on colder tires, so it's gonna take a minute for him to get in the window.
Take a look at Terrell Scenes Taylor, your boy Blue, trying to get up in there. It looks like Taylor may just let him cruise on by.
Blue just holding the inside line through turn 6 and 7, just like.
Ooh, and Taylor, the back end of that Honda, playing on him a little bit. He's unable to push in on Blue.
Well, he drove over a bunch of trash going offline in turn 7, so I think he's definitely gonna have to get the marbles off before that NSX is gonna feel. That is a car actually that the meta, I really feel like, nerfed pretty hard, because I don't see a lot of people running the NSX anymore. Mm-hmm. And it was a pretty good powerhouse in 1.8 for sure. So I'm very kind of surprised to see the NSXs fall from grace, but Terrell Scenes Taylor's still driving it, so hats off to him. I do like it when non-meta cars do get their like folks that still keep them relevant in the series.
No, it's nice to see as many manufacturers as possible. I like a good mix of the field, not just one. I mean, if we look at the list, it's Ferrari all day today, in these two classes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 Ferraris out of 18 cars. So half the field right now is Ferrari.
Yep.
Like, that's just insanity to me. Too much. Too many Ferraris. I don't like it. So if we take a look at what's going on right now, Josh Butler has not yet pitted. Just under 16 minutes left to go. He's going to have to go in. That's going to let Zolotarov take over the front, and everybody will basically shift up back to where Butler slots back into place. But that puts Michael Zwanenberg, you know, really running hard for an M-Class driver.
Well, like I said when we were getting ready for the race to start, like Zwanenberg's pace in the 296 is really very good. I think he's had some really unlucky rounds this season, and it's kind of given Bruce Hopkins kind of like space to run around. And see another 296 off. I believe that's at turn 12 again.
Yep, Chris Finlay, number 7.
So Finlay on the brakes. Yeah, that was turn 10. That wasn't turn 12. So yeah, I was just talking about Zwanenberg again. I think his pace is just super good. I think he's probably got silver class pace, if I'm honest. It's just consistency is going to be the tough nut to crack.
So say we all. John Ruhlin. I'll look for room on Chris Finlay, see if he can pick up one spot here before the end of this. As Josh Butler now heads into the pits, we'll see where he slots back out into traffic. We lost 2 drivers during the course of today's race, 18 sticking through. Really curious with the end of the season here, and you know, we've had some that don't show up from week to week. It's summertime, people want to be outside and things like that. I got to admit, you're lucky I'm here with you, Phil. Well, if you consider yourself lucky to be able to do this with me. I just,
absolutely.
It's so nice out that I'm like,
yeah.
and I love doing this, but during this time of year, it's like, oh boy.
You just want to go out and touch the grass?
Yeah, I don't want to go out. I don't want to go inside.
Well, I mean, the good news is we're close to break time. There's still going to be a little bit of summer left.
Yeah.
Man, Terrell Scenes Taylor that NSX is a handful. I do not know how he doesn't have a DT already, because I've seen at least 2 what look like obvious cuts, and Finlay also having a little bit of rear instability in the 296.
Well, we know. I mean, Finlay slid twice today. We have seen that, so maybe he's struggling a little here towards the end. Finlay pitted within the first few laps of this race, right?
Yep.
So I wonder if his tires are starting to wear on him a little bit. You said there's higher deg here, you know, a little bit higher degradation than most of the places. So I wonder
100%.
I wonder if he's starting to suffer a little bit with that here towards the end.
Yeah, Finlay pitted.
And there he is into the wall. So Terrell Scenes Taylor, John Ruhlin going right around. Again, another slide by himself, and now coming down the stretch real slow. I wonder how much damage he has, because it looked like he hit hard.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like he's trying to get that car, or can't get that car back up to speed again.
Well, I mean, it could be that his steering is broken enough where putting too much down in terms of straight line speed could probably pull the car in one direction or the other. Yeah, 40-minute drop off in rear tire grip is a big deal, in my opinion. That is a big deal in GT3 racing.
Oh, and Bob Charlton. Sorry.
Because you take a look at most of the series that run like mandatory pit stops for like more than an hour sprint races. Like if you got like a 60 to 65 minute stint timer, like having to suffer for 20 to 25 minutes.
Yeah.
With bad rears at a track like Hungaroring, or even a track like Spa. So this is giving you a nice indicator of what some of the high-speed corners at Spa are going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And Spa is, I'm looking forward to Spa.
I love Spa.
Well, I mean, Spa is kind of like lower on the line, on the end of tracks that like I really care to watch.
Okay.
But it is a bit of it's kind of like a hidden puzzle, because Spa is like 2 tracks bolted together. Like you've got sectors 3 and Sector 1, like if you did them like one after the other, be Sector 3 and then Sector 1, is 100% one of the highest performance power circuits in the game, period. And then Sector 2 is very technical. And having good aero and mechanical grip will get you lap time in Sector 2 for sure and keep you out of the wall. But I'm very interested to see how people address the setup challenges with Spa, because you can really kind of set your car up for 1 or 2 tracks. So it'll just be interesting to watch.
So Chris Finlay, as guessed, lots of damage, or enough damage at least to warrant a trip to the pits this late, as Nick Paquin battles Josh Butler right now. While we were talking just a moment ago, Bob Charlton got ahead of Michael Zwanenberg, different class, so Zwanenberg may have just let him slide so he can take this win and not have to fight here at the end, knowing he's got plenty of room back to Adam Willey right now.
It's like Pro Silver Quali is about to start, and I'm going to try something new if it's okay with you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'm actually going to sign into that service. So I've got your feed pulled up alongside with chat so I can talk to people.
Perfect.
But I'm going to switch over to Pro Silver Quali category so that I might have a little bit of a feeling from where the other, like what we're seeing.
Perfect.
Might have something to talk about when we get into it.
Sounds good, sir. Don't forget, folks, this season of Box3 Motorsports PCACC Racing, sponsored by Next Level Racing and Sim Track USA, both companies providing prizes for a one lucky driver here at the end of the season. I love the way we did this. It was not about how fast you were. It wasn't about if you can win the most points. It was all about attendance. Are you showing out for races? Had to have a minimum of 5 races that you showed up for, and every higher finish, whether first, second, or third, would get you a few more draws on that prize. On those prizes, we will be giving those away next week, right after the race at Spa. So expect to stick around for a little bit longer once the race is over at Spa. Again, endurance racing next week, 60 minutes AM and Pro-Am, 90 minutes, and we have contact between Terrell Saints Taylor and John Ruler. 90-minute race for Pro and Silver class.
Yeah, I really think Terrell Saints Taylor is really starting to struggle with the NSX, for sure.
Well, I believe he was another one that, like Finlay, that hit it quite early in this race, and so now he did. I believe he made a second trip to the pits, but I don't know what he did while he was there. Right, so we don't know if he took a second set of tires or not. There is only one mandatory stop. Good luck, Glendino. We will do our best to not let Phil commentator curse you.
That's your R8 representation alongside Tobias Gate.
I know.
Yeah, Pro Silver category.
I know. You need him to do well.
Ed Walsh did lose out to Adam Milley. Now he's got Steven Music to deal with.
He does, right there. Wow.
I've got the ACT TV pulled up with Silver out on track as qualifying's underway in the split.
Perfect. We will be jumping right over there after the conclusion of this in about 7 minutes. Season 7 of PCACC, and I believe Xbox ACC will be starting mid-August. So don't think that we're done just because Spa next week is the end of the season. We'll be back for Season 7 about the middle of August. Take a little time off. Let's get time in for qualifying. We usually run the qualifying servers for about 2 weeks. Allow folks to get their laps in. Be curious to see after this season. I mean, we see some obvious drivers here who, are going to look to move up. I don't know that it matters what qualifying says. Guys like Zwanenberg, Bruce Hopkins, I think are drivers that are going to bump up to at least one more, go up at least one more class, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they just got good pace for sure.
Edward Walsh holding on, keeping Steven Music at bay so far. There are going to be a few more laps here before it's all over.
To 296, just leaping the inside curb of turn 7. Just bounces, just, I mean, it almost like bumbles over the curb, but it manages to keep it really, really well centered. I mean, which is a departure from the 488. Like, you take the curb that hard in the 488, and you're just gonna pogo stick right off the track.
Yeah.
Because the 488 suspension, notoriously terrible. Zolotarov head to the tune of 30.6 seconds.
That's just insanity.
Bob Charlton, shout out to that dude after his Imola. If he can keep this nailed down and come home with a P2 finish, that is gotta be some comfort.
Well, he is certainly holding on to it today. What was Zolotarov's pit stop? Just out of curiosity, I mean, that's obviously not 30 seconds. He's got wicked pace out there, but I'm just curious how much faster he was over Charlton and Zwanenberg in those.
I mean,
or was he faster in the pits?
Oh yeah, he was 100% faster. He was 2 seconds faster than Charlton, 3 seconds faster than Zwanenberg. But Zolotarov, like he just really puts down like really good figures, pretty much week to week. So I'm not shocked at all to see Zolotarov pump in a good pit stop.
It certainly seems like he's got the Hungaroring locked down in regards to pace and consistency, because he's just maintained fast laps all day.
Yeah. Quick update with Silver Quali happening right now. 44.2 for John Gray. And then we've got Glenn D-Balls in second with 44.6, and Jace Wright with the 44.6 as well. Brandon Pfeiffer in fourth with a 44, almost a 44.8.
Wow. Right now, though, Adam Willey making an attack on Michael Zwanenberg.
So Willie had a standout quali at Imola. His pace was shocking. It was so good. And it is kind of interesting to see Adam pick up right where he left off with some really good pace and taking the fight to Zwanenberg, taking a very wide line. Zwanenberg holding a very pinched corner entry. Adam, we're going to have a conversation, because I'm kind of curious where he was going, because I don't know if there's concessions or something on the exit of turn 1, but he looked like he was taking a trip.
But again, look, there's 2.5 minutes left in this race. Michael Zwanenberg and Adam Willey are not in class together, right?
They are not.
Yeah, and granted, as much as you want to be competitive, there's 2.5 minutes left. Do you really want to throw a corner and lose out on a podium opportunity in the last lap and a half of the race?
And it is 6.6 seconds thereabouts to Charlton. So it's not like he's gonna, like, Charlton would have to do something tragic to really lose out. Which, hats off to Charlton. I mean, Charlton, his first and second stint, his first stint, he was nowhere in comparison to Michael Zwanenberg on pace.
I kind of thought maybe Ed Walsh was going to catch up to Willie, and he obviously he still could. We've got at least one lap left here, but now he's having to play defense against Music, so really can't put his head down and focus on catching up to the back end of Willie anymore. I
mean, the question I've got for Charlton is, like, what happened after your pit stop? Because their first stint was a 44.1 on average, right? And Zwanenberg's pumping in a 46.2. Second stint, 45.8.
Oh, wow.
To Zwanenberg's 46.5. So somewhere in the grand scheme of things, found over a second.
Wow.
Pace just chilling. So, like, I'm curious, did you not just get a good read on the tire pressure? But man, really finally put it together. It looks like here in the second stand, and is currently holding second overall.
Two battles raging now. Again, Willie on the attack with Zwanenberg. Kind of thought he was going to leave this one alone, but maybe realized Ed Walsh was a little closer than he felt comfortable with.
So with qualifying about to end for the silver category, John Gray still in the lead with that 44.2.
Okay.
Matt commits in the number 5 with 44.297. Brandon Fife does sneak into third with a 44.540. The numbers in quali right now are tight.
Wow.
You got to go to P8 to get out of the 40. So
No kidding. Well, we'll see what those pro drivers throw in as we get the final lap underway here of the first race, Am and Pro-Am racing at the Hungaroring. Pro and Silver race up next. We will jump right over there, get it started. Oh, we are all stacked up now. Michael Zwanenberg going to lead a train to finish this race, comprised of Adam Willie, Ed Walsh, Steven Music. Oh, and it looked like Music was going to make it up the inside on Ed Walsh, but not quite.
That's okay. He's got another shot on the exit of turn 14, and Walsh has a bit of a bobble.
Little bump there on the back end, maybe. And we are going to have to go one more lap. He's got plenty of time. Steven Music going to have an excellent opportunity here to take up P5 overall for this race.
He is on Walsh throwing the squeeze, but to be honest, like, he's going to regret doing that because that actually compromised his turn into turn 1 for sure.
Yep. Even Tomaszek and Bruce Hopkins changing places up here too.
Whoa! Walsh on the grass on the inside.
Oh, no.
What happened there? Looked like Walsh went on the grass on the inside into turn 2.
I had jumped over to watching Steven Tomaszek, Bruce Hopkins, Kenny O'Connor, Nick Paquin. These guys saved all their battles for the last lap.
Speaking of which, Zolotarov's getting close to the end of this race. The man's just been checked out the whole time. Man's been traveling through time. Steven Tomaszek just trying to hang on. Bruce Hopkins, he comes away 8th overall, 2nd in class. He's fine.
Oh yeah,
he's fine.
100%. Ivan Zolotarov is your winner today, overall and in class. Amazing we have to wait 31 plus seconds for Bob Charlton to come across the line in second. Back to Nick Paquin, Josh Butler. Bob Charlton finishing in second. Michael Zwanenberg right there. Going to take 3rd overall, 1st in class. Adam Willie, 3rd, takes a podium in class today. Steven Music, Ed Walsh, round out your top 6. And with that, though, we are going to have to start looking to jump over as these guys finish out this race. Look to jump over to the Pro and Silver race.
This was a tough race.
Yes,
Hats
it
off
was.
to everybody who made it across the line at the end. That was not easy for sure.
That was craziness. We wait here for this thing to let that off the screen. There we go. Pro Silver. See if they set the... They did. How wonderful.
A tactical. I think I lost 5 pounds in the last 15 minutes. I would not doubt it. I would not doubt it. Hungaroring is tough. Hungaroring is tough. That's why whenever they run like an endurance race at Hungaroring, I'm just like, man, that's brutal. That is like really brutal. I'd put, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch. I was going to say like Hungaroring endurance racing would be like racing at the Nürburgring, right? It's just, you don't have enough time to let your mind relax before you're at the next braking zone.
Yeah.
It's just nonstop.
Your insanity.
For sure. So
but
in silver. Sorry, go ahead.
But I was just saying, but I love watching it.
Yeah,
Whoops.
Hungaroring delivers. In my opinion, it delivers. I know the drivers have mixed feelings about it, but I feel like it delivers. Real
For
quick
sure.
though, it does look like John Gray holding it down in silver. Still provisional pole with the 44.090. Retro Coffin jumps to the top with that 43.935 now that the pro category is out on track. But it looks like John Gray, Matt Kamitsky, Brandon Pfeiffer rounded out the top three for silver. Lewis Rickard, then Rob Keesar, Mike Burkhoff, and I think Vadik Ostityev are the remaining silvers.
You're a braver man than me. Oh, let's see here.
I mean, I'll fail at it. The reason is I'm totally down for people to tell me, your pronunciation is garbage, because they're not wrong.
Nope, 100%.
There's your pro category leader right there.
It is Tobias Gable
Provisional leader
in the
188
Audi.
in the OD.
With that, sir, I'm going to take a quick step away.
Sounds good.
Go see my wife for a moment, talk to her, and I will be right back. Get ready. We have about 5 minutes left in qualifying before we kick off 1 hour of racing, pro and silver class, for the penultimate race of this season 6 at Box 3 Motorsports. I will be right back, Phil. Thank you, sir.
Not a problem. So times to look for right now. Charlie Booth currently up a half second, sitting on a 44.5, so gonna sneak into those 43s potentially and maybe leapfrog Retro Coffin for provisional. Charlie Booth probably, like, most likely for me to potentially steal a win in the pro category. Does end up coming in second with looks like ended up with 43.940, and then immediately Retro Coffin hits back with a 49.935. So Retro Coffin really standing out right now in terms of lap performance around here at Hungaroring. And the Delta, he's still finding time, ladies and gentlemen. Still finding time out on track. Anthony Anderson, after missing a round, back with us for Hungaroring in Get Cal Racing Lamborghini. Anthony's going to have to get slotted right back into it because there's still a lot up for grabs in this season of Box 3 ACC GT3 Racing. Getting a good view of how the Lamborghini is handling the lines, going through turn 5 right now, on approach to turn 6, turn 7, into this really low speed chicane. Just taking a lot of the curves, but you saw he took a little bit too much of the inside of turn 7, almost understeered straight off the track. Charlie Booth goes to the top with a 43.737. Retro Coffin hitting right back with a 43.537. These guys are going toe to toe, and it is exciting. Tobias Cable currently in 10th in the 188, 43.352. His current time going to have to find some gains somewhere on track. We'll try and sneak up a little bit closer to the top end. Kind of curious what the R8 feels like around here. Anthony Anderson, 44.297 in the Lamborghini, 8th fastest. Going to have to find some pace somewhere. Otherwise, it's the Porsche show up at the top with Retro Coffin and Charlie Booth. Retro still finding time on track. Currently has a 10th in the bag. Tobias Gable's starting to find some time. He's got about 6/10. Anthony Anderson having. I wonder how many off tracks are starting to influence lap times here in qualifying. Timothy Glendenning currently 19th, 46.022. There's Charlie Booth. Currently 2/10 back from Retro Coffin, who's having a really good qualifying right now. Christoph Arts, third place with now fourth, because Tobias Gable shoots to third on the time sheets. Retro Coffin's got a looks like he's got a 10th in the bag.
Wow. Retro Coffin at the top of qual here in the Porsche. That is something we don't typically see. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a speedy guy, but I don't think we've seen him qual first this season.
No, this would be his first pole position if he ends up sticking with it. We're starting to see a little bit of a shuffling of the order here. We're starting to see those silver category drivers tumble into the midfield. Retro Coffin off at turn 6, turn 7. He's going to have to go to the pits. His quality's done, so Charlie Booth also in the pits, so they're done, so they're locked in. Tobias Gable in the meantime, trying to find some time on track. Currently, what, 3/10 back?
I'm showing 1/10 up for Tobias right now. But yeah, he's going to need more than that in order to get ahead of Charlie Booth and Retro Coffin.
The good news for him, he's coming up to Sector 3, so if the R8 needs to stretch its legs a little bit, it's got a few straight line opportunities. I think he might have just invalidated right there.
He scrubbed his lap right there. It went from green to gray in the software, so we know he has now scrubbed it out.
Gasolina's got a 10th in, but the 10th is at best going to put him maybe P6. Anthony Anderson back in P6 with a 44.0.
Yeah, I see Mr. Anderson has returned this week. 20 drivers again starting off for the Pro and Silver splits today. Tobias shuts it down and we'll jump back to the pits. Get ready for qualification to finish here.
While you're doing the grid walk, sir, I'm going to take a step away
Sounds
and
good.
Use the facilities, grab something to drink. I'll be right back.
Sounds good, sir. We will be here. Gasolina gets himself up into 7th, still sitting behind Anthony Anderson. Get ready for 1 hour at the Hungaroring. Second race of the day. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, Vatic. Good to see you. So, B5 qualifying 11th. Turn it off real quick just to get a look at the classifications. Retro Coffin sitting up top of the list there. Charlie Booth will be on row 1. A little less differentiation in the classes here than what we saw in the Pro and Pro-Am, or I'm sorry, in the Am and Pro-Am race just a little bit ago. John Gray doing very well. Kind of mixed in a little bit there with some of the pro drivers. In silver class, Rick Pixel down right below him, but then Matt Comiskey, Brandon Pfeiffer kind of start the gullet of silver class, and Tom Foose, Timothy Glendenning, possibly with a pit start this week. I don't recall, but interesting to see Tom Foose in P12 to start this off. One more time, folks, don't forget this season as we get ready for today's grid walk. Starting off, there he is, Retro Coffin in that very, very fancy Porsche. Number 937, sharing the row with Charlie Booth, the man in Australia. Tobias Gable in third. The Audi, and sharing the row with Christoph Arts in 4th today. Oh, and TG saying in chat he had the pace. Had to scrub it, though. Jarrett Skinner the number 960, along with Anthony Anderson returning after missing Imola, the number 16 car. Gasolina, another Porsche out on track, the number 1. John Gray going to share a row with him. You guys got to hear John Gray last week during the 4th of July break. Rick Pixel and Matt Comiskey in row 5. Comiskey coming in just ahead of Brandon Pfeiffer. There is Mr. B. Fife. Going to share this row with Tom Foose in the number 27 BMW. Another Yit Cow driver. There are more of those guys anywhere else. I can't. It's unbelievable. Louis Ricard in the number 96 is back on track with us. Dan, number 92, not going to give you the satisfaction, sir, in the Aston Martin. Jace Wright and Rob Kesar sharing row 8. Wow, that is a livery right there, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Kesar coming out always very colorful. Mike Burkhoff, Drew Barakovsky. Row 9 together. Timothy Glendinning, another Audi on track. And Vadik in the number 9. Bentley, the only Bentley this season. All set for today's race. Bring it back up front here as our drivers take off for the formation lap and get ready for this 1 hour of racing at the Hungaroring. We get to see, oh, good afternoon. I was just going to say, we're going to get to see if these pro and silver drivers struggle as much with some of these corners
100%
that we saw during the first race. I will say one prediction you did make has not happened yet, so I will be curious to see if it does, and that is the fact that there were no drive-thrus in the first race.
That is true. That is true. I'll definitely
a little surprising.
Eat crow on that one, so that's okay. My stomach's pretty tough. I can take most things.
But if I remember correctly from any driving I've done here, the track limits are pretty liberal at the Hungaroring, at least in ACC, right? I mean, they're, you know, if we talk about coming out of turn 3, you can go well out over and off that curb and not get called on it, right?
Yeah, the part where it ends up being a bit of a mismatch during when the racing action gets heated up, that's when you start seeing like track limits, turn 3, turn 4.
Yeah.
Turn 6, turn 7. Like people can cut too much on turn 6. People can goof the exit on turn 9 or turn 11.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's in my opinion, it's still very possible that we would see a drive-through penalty. But you know, I was very wrong last race, so I'm prepared to be extremely wrong again.
Well, Rose Gaming says you weren't wrong. Blue had one for starting out of position at the beginning of the race. However, I think we were talking specifically about track limit violations.
Yes, we were talking about Joker laps for being too liberal with coloring in the lines. So we got Retro, we got Booth. Drag race down to turn 1. Tobias Gable's going to be a rocket ship.
Yeah,
we know the R8's always slippery in a straight line.
I want to see what kind of jump he gets today, because when he gets a good jump, he will get out front very quickly. But we've seen him miss the jump too, and that's why I'm curious. I think he's put himself in a good spot if he can get a good launch off the line.
And I mean, I'm kind of curious to see how this works out with Booth and Coffin into turn 1. They had a bit of a spicy race at Imola.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up with Booth retiring after his steering was broken. Like the actual technical part of his steering wheel was cocked 90 degrees and wouldn't change unless he restarted ACC.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of interested to see if we're gonna have a dramatic and spicy T1, because Booth really needs this.
Green line, go, go, go.
Well, we're green. Let's find out. We'll keep it right here, all the way down into the corner. I love this pullback shot that you get the Hungaroring. It makes up for the billboard shot. And we're going 3 wide. Gable just sticking his nose in there, but Retro Coffin going to rip out ahead. Now Charlie Booth is going to contend with Tobias. Very
Yeah,
little drama in the backfield too. A little bit of contact, but nothing at race ending yet. Gable on the outside line.
Booth's got to try and box out Gable as best he can, because if he lets that R8 split him and Retro Coffin, it's just going to compromise his ability to catch back up. And that is a gaggle exiting
You see that?
turn 3.
And again, showing a lot of contact between cars, but it didn't look like anybody was off track. Nobody yellow out. Rob Keesar, I lied. Rob Keesar, Mike Burkhoff.
Yeah.
Stuck back. Wow.
That is unfortunate. Like you set us up, and then there was death.
I know. It was all my fault. Overall, though, I gotta say, like, as much contact as we saw flying up on the screen, it was nowhere near. None of them were really race ending for any of these guys, so that's a good thing.
So Gable and Arts, in terms of championship points, that's kind of what I'm focused on.
Okay.
Like, I'm focused on Booth. I'm focused on how many points Anderson can come away with. Because I really feel like at the upper end, it's going to be between those guys. Back, let me pull up the pro category real quick. Yeah, I'm thinking.
Oh, and Jarrett Skinner yellow flagged and spun.
Oh, Jarrett Skinner, that is going to compromise his ability to stay out in front of Tom Foose in the championship.
Trying to figure out what happened. It looks like Vatic and Barakovsky came together. Vatic ended up sitting for a little while, so still some contact going on here. John Gray moving up ahead of Gasolina as these two battle now. Wow, Gaz just bringing it right to him. Pfeiffer and Foose coming together.
And Pfeiffer really doesn't need to have that happen right now, because John Gray is just driving off.
Yep, right now and fighting with Gaz, and looks like Gaz able to hold his own for now. Going to keep him back there. But Fife's going to have, and Tom Foose now getting ahead of Brandon Pfeiffer. Fife's going to have to deal with Foose, Comiskey, and Comiskey before he can get anywhere near Gray. So he's got a long race ahead of him when it comes to that.
Yeah, he's definitely going to want to try and close the gap up a little bit. He's going to want to try and find his way around Timothy Glendenning in the R8, holding off Jarrett Skinner, who has been, on average, quicker than Glendenning, but bit of drama for Skinner early on, lower down in the order right now.
Keeping an eye up front right now as Anthony Anderson starts to creep up on the back end of Christoph Arts.
Yeah, Anderson did not have a very good qualifying, but the one thing that Anderson has called out, and I would agree with him, is he has a tendency to really start to find the pace on track and race conditions. So I'm expecting to see his lap time start to go down a little bit. Retro Coffin with a 44.0, and already a 9/10 advantage, or 9/10 ahead of Charlie Booth.
Yeah, I'm watching that gap and seeing if it gets above one. You know, it's kind of above 1 second now, but will it hold there? Timothy Glendenning just holding on over Jarrett Skinner right now, though. Thought maybe he was going to leave the door open through T1, but is able to pinch down just enough to not let Skinner creep through. Let's check on the number 92 car and Gasolina. Gasolina now putting pressure, and John Gray right there to see if he can join the fray. Jarrett Skinner down 10 spots today. What? I won't say it. I won't give him the satisfaction. I already told him that. I'll just call him Dan for the rest of his life.
Well, I was talking about the rhyme. You were a poet and didn't know it.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't hear that.
The John Gray's looking at this fight and probably just rubbing his hands together, because if these guys come together, that is just going to be some fodder that Fife is going to have to deal with later on. The corner entry, though, into turn 4 for the 92 car was great.
Whoa, somebody's taking a ride. Gasolina off into the Toolies. He decided to take the scenic route and is going to drop way back. Something must have happened. He is now parked.
No, he is gone.
Oh, he disappeared? Yep, it won't let me select him anymore. It changed me up to Vatic.
That is unfortunate. I hope that's not a disconnect or a technical failure.
Looks like it's more than likely a disconnect, I guess.
Anthony Anderson, 5th place, currently 1 second back from Christoph Arts. 296 has been strong around here in the AM and Pro AM race, so I'm kind of curious to see if Anthony can take the fight to the Fezzes in the Lambo Evo 2.
Well, Mike Burkhoff into the pits now. Early in this race. Still 54 minutes left to go. Just having gotten started. The number 92 car still trying to hold off John Gray. And Glendinning getting stacked up with Rick Pixel and Louis Ricard now.
Let me tell you, getting into a race in one of these would be a lot of fun. Not gonna lie.
Diesel in the
Not
chat.
gonna lie.
Diesel in the chat saying, I just miss people driving things because they actually like the car. Making comments about how there's so little variety on track. I agree, sir, and that's why I still drive the Audi. Oh, and Glendinning takes a knock from Rick Pixel. Both cars spun Pixel right in the middle of the track. Hopefully he can get out of the way before any more traffic comes along. As both guys get going again. Wow.
Still plenty of time. We got 53 minutes left in the race. Knuckle down, clean it up.
But yeah, I was saying, like I was saying, that's why I stick with my Audi. Now, when the new Audi, when the Evo 2 came out, I started driving that, but it's still, I stick with my Audi. Nobody ever, Mr. King of Fru. Nobody ever said we need more Porsches. Retro Coffin's hair is enough Porsche for everybody. Rob Keesar, Louis Ricard trading blows now, making contact. As Keesar gets out in front. Battles all over this race. Not quite as spread out as the first one today. Burakovsky and Jarrett Skinner battling down the start-finish straight. Skinner with a look to the inside. Can he hold it? Yes, he can.
Skinner's pretty slippery in the 296, so I expect to see him make some more moves on track before the end of this race. With a 1 second delta between Coffin and Booth, I'm really interested to see how the pit stops work out, because this is very much in the territory of like goof off too much and make a mistake.
Yeah.
A 92 car on the switchback has the inside line in turn 6, turn 7. I think he's just like, you want to go?
John
you want to
Gray.
go? Well, we'll get with it.
John Gray let him know that I'm taking that line in 6 and 7.
Well,
Real
I mean,
quick.
the thing is, the 92 car, like, I understand doing that, but now you've got the number 9 or the number 5 and the number 27 car behind, both wanting to get around you. So it's like you might have taken a little bit of pressure off yourself for a short period of time, but now you got people in class that are chasing down the class leader for this race.
Tom Foose keeps Brandon Pfeiffer at bay so far. Charlie Booth setting the new fastest lap, 1:43.975. Just as I say that, Brandon Pfeiffer able to jump around Tom Foose and take up P9. But Fife is 4th in class right now, has a long row to catch Matt Comiskey, Dan number 92, and John Gray to apply any pressure. I think Gray, if he can keep it together, is going to be the class winner today. We wanted to see how that was going to play out throughout the rest of this season.
Yeah. Tom Foose, another M4 driver. Probably, I would say, in the Pro Silver category, probably the top M4 driver in the field. Going big drifto in turn 4, and that right there might have counted against his no-no limit.
So we're 5 laps in, Bill. What are we seeing, or what are you seeing on your end with the average lap times for Coffin and Booth? We've seen them both run fastest laps. Those fastest laps about a 10th apart. So that doesn't tell a whole story. I mean, but with 5 laps down, are we getting some kind of average here right now on where these guys are running?
It's going to be easy. So if I'm looking at Coffin right now, Coffin's averaging a 44.0 for his lap time, which is pretty wild. Like the fact that, well, Charlie Booth's averaging a 44.131. Like they are very close on pace with one another, and it really shows. The tail of the tape shows that I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think that Charlie Booth has a bit less aero or mechanical grip going on, because in sectors 1 and 2, Coffin's got it on lock. Not by much though. 2/10 in sector 1, 1/10-ish in sector 2, then 2/10 to Charlie Booth in sector 3, which has more straights. So it's very interesting. It does seem like there might be a bit of a setup difference between the cars.
Just curious, because what you spelled out, it kind of makes sense when we talk about Charlie Booth and Coffin right now, because every lap or so that gap is getting a little wider, but by about a tenth, right? And what you talked about with the average, I mean, it went from 1.0 to 1.1 to 1.2, now sitting at 1.3. So I want to see if that holds and if Coffin can continue to do that.
Yeah, it has very much been a slowly growing gap between the 937 and the 46 car. It is starting to stabilize a little bit. I wonder if whatever aerodynamic or mechanical advantage Coffin has is starting to drop off as the tires get used a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see what's gonna pop out after the pit stops. Actually, Charlie Booth on a bit of an attack right now.
Closing it up a little bit, now down to 1 second.
Yeah.
Matt Comiskey. Oh, and what's wrong with the number 92? Yellow flagged. Matt Comiskey, Brandon Pfeiffer, both getting around. Let's back that up 30 seconds, see if we can't catch what happened to Dan and at our favorite part of the track where camera doesn't work.
See anything?
Not yet, no. I did go back 30 seconds though, so ended up right there.
Oh, he
right.
caught the inside curve, and then it just like.
Yep. Got on the paint and it just swung the back end.
Believe it or not, that car is very much that curb on the inside of turn 14 is pretty aggressive. Very aggressive. What's up?
Yeah.
Jake Wells in chat.
There he is. Yeah, to Chris Rise for the first time chatting in. Retro Coffin does not have this on lock. The hair has this on lock, as Box3 Motorsports told you, Alex told you. Retro Coffin is simply a passenger in this car. We need an overlay that when we go on board with Retro, specifically with Retro, like when we do a cockpit view with Retro, you can see hair fluttering on the side of the screen.
Well, what I would like to see is if folks could put together like a nice, like almost like one of those cutouts that you would see like in the mall, that you can like put your face in, where it's just like a mullet.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
We put people's faces in there and we just call it the retro look.
Right? Charlie Booth seemed to have found some pace now and has caught up to Retro Coffin. A gap that was 1.3 seconds, now well under a second, at one point down to 0.4.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna stop talking for a minute. I wanna actually go take a look at the data, guys.
Give me a minute there, Adam. We will go on board with Brandon Pfeiffer. We're gonna have to check in on him anyway, as number 92 and the number 27 cars have tightened right up on him, doing everything he can to hold his own. Let's go ahead and do that on board now. You are correct, Jake. It's the hair all the way.
So what I'm seeing is, and this is subtle for folks that have access to pit wall, what I'm noticing with Coffin's times is like right out of the gate, Coffin is like got blistering pace. Like he's setting like high 43s, low 44s. but every lap, every single lap, he gets anywhere from 1 to 2 tenths slower. Every single lap, he's losing pace. Every single lap. And then I look at Charlie Booth's numbers, and Charlie Booth a little bit more fluctuating around 44.0, but it's like 44.2, 44.2, 44.0, 43.9, 44.4. So that's his highest, and then he goes back 44.2, 44.3. So he's staying relatively stable, whereas Retro Coffin is kind of on this slope upward in terms of lap times.
Well, I will tell you this: if I'm Brandon Pfeiffer right now, I'm losing my mind. Listen, we've had the blue flag conversation here. We've talked about it. We've probably talked it to death. But here's the thing. There's not immediately moving over for someone, and then there's this. What I'm watching right now, you have Mike Burkhoff, which I get these guys are in a battle together back there, but coming down that straight, they should have just they had to let Fife through, and the cars behind him, because now Fife is hung up. The field is stacking behind him now. He's got the number 92. He's got Tom Foose, Jarrett Skinner, all right there now because of this battle right in front of him.
I mean, I'll play devil's advocate right there. It's like Mike Burkhoff is battling for every point that he can get, just like everybody else on track.
True.
And it is, you know, Tobias Gable going off-roading and comes back online in front of John Gray.
Let's back that up because we've got contact between Anthony Anderson and Tobias Gable back there. So let's back this up. We are in replay right now as we take a look. Gable going wide. As we come through 6 and 7, that's not Anderson behind him. Oh, got spun. Caught curb right there. Okay. Anderson having to dive off track to get around.
That is the second near miss for Anthony Anderson. His race has almost ended twice.
Yep.
So I don't know, Anthony, how you feel about gambling, but we should talk about lotto numbers.
Right. Let's take him to Vegas right now. Don't misunderstand. I get what you were saying about that. I understand those two are battling, but at the same time, they can battle far on the outside and let these other drivers through on the inside. Now, specifically where we are right now, down this start and finish straight.
Yeah, the problem there is that if you think about it from like a number of decisions that have to occur, the car that is leading the other car has to decide, I'm going to let this guy through, and then the other guy has to be like, oh, well, since you're letting that guy through, I'm going to be nice and just hang out behind you.
And I know there's a danger
Literally,
there. I get that.
Nobody will do that.
I get that.
So
I know there's a danger.
It's just one of those things where it sucks, but kind of one of the things we've been talking about with like getting into like multi-class racing and stuff like that. This sort of thing happens in IMSA all the time. Even between categories.
Yeah.
Like LMP2s are just fighting to get around GTD and GTD Pro drivers, but they're racing and they're allowed to be there and they're allowed to battle.
And I get that. And you know, and Rose in the chat says that's not how blue flags work. And I understand that. I guess I was just juiced for the fight because we had Fife stacked with 3 other cars and I wanted them to have clear air to battle. I guess that's why is my thing. I know that, but I just really wanted to,
The thing that I'm looking for Fife. So Fife's got to be looking at the overlay right now and saying to himself, I'm 7 seconds behind Kamitsky. I'm nowhere relative to John Gray. I'm almost 10 seconds back. How do I get closer? And the answer is taking advantage of this moment where he's got clear air and putting in consistent lap times, nailing your pit stop. You cannot leave anything to chance.
Yeah.
So I still feel like there's still opportunities. It is 40 minutes on Hungaroring. We saw how much the field shifted throughout the entire race in the Pro-Am split. There's still plenty of opportunities. Man, this dive on the inside, brilliant move from the AMG.
But
look at that
so
switchback.
Vulnerable on the coming back to it, right?
Oh man, but Drew, just enough space. I mean, definitely there was no room for the Holy Spirit, as they would say.
A little nudge. Louis Ricard not happy about that little nudge. Oh, and look at this. Rob Keesar joins the party and decides, you know what? If he can go through, I can too.
Rob Keesar in that Porsche probably going to have a little bit more of a mechanical advantage than the AMG in terms of grip.
That was so sneaky, though. Good on him.
Yeah. Yeah. And that right there, that's a perfect example of like this kind of like close racing that we're starting to see on Hungaroring. And yeah, passing is 100% possible around here.
Yep. A lot of fun. Now, do you think, I mean, because we saw some early pitters in the Am and Pro-Am race, some earlier than this, and that was only 45 minutes. With 40 minutes left to go, some of these guys, you know, Foose, the number 92 car, Jarrett Skinner, Mike Burkhoff, and Vatic, they were in way early, I think, due to damage. But like, let's talk about Foose, Dan, and Skinner. Are they taking a chance pitting this early with tire wear?
Yes.
Rivas, don't. It's Dan. Dan is the number 92 car. Dan is the number 92 car.
So, yeah,
Okay.
it's very tough taking the early pit here at Hungaroring.
That's what I'm kind of wondering.
What it actually is, the track temperature for this race, it is 35 C, so it is starting to get a little bit more aggressive on the heat scale. And 1.9, like we like Imola wasn't a scorcher by any stretch of the imagination. Tire degradation was killing people, metaphorically speaking. It was rough, and I suspect it's going to be the same thing here. Mechanical grip is so at such a premium around here.
Well, we will see how that plays out for these drivers that have decided to go in with almost 40 minutes left when they were diving into the pits. But now Louis Ricard coming under pressure from Keesar, and Barakovsky has caught back up.
Booth starting to close in a little bit. 2/10 now. He's found almost 3/10 to Retro Coffin.
Wow.
Anthony Anderson is getting a good sniff of Christoph Arts right now. And Tobias Gable with John Gray. I mean, there are close fights up and down the timing board.
Keep an eye on that there. I'm really watching that Retro Coffin Charlie Booth. And as we've mentioned all season, that being that close, like you could argue Christoph Arts in third, 8 seconds back. I doubt unless somebody really makes a mistake that we're going to see an 8-second gap in a pit stop. But we talk about Coffin and Charlie Booth. Even if that stretches out, when these guys decide to pit, even if that stretches out to, and now down to 0.3, we got to catch up with that. Stretches out to 1.5 seconds. We've seen spreads bigger than that in the pits. And so that's all it takes is that pit stop and making that mistake, and it's over.
Yeah, we've seen pit stop mistakes definitely cost positions with that with gaps even that big. So it is game on in terms of a number of the fights on track right now. Charlie Booth.
Charlie Booth hard on the curb through 6 and 7. Meanwhile, Retro Coffin dips his toe into the grass.
I think that was more lag, what you were seeing.
Was it?
Charlie Booth's car was like, cars don't normally drive that way in a straight line. Like it normally if a car drives like that on the road, you need to get to a service station quickly because it was definitely difficult, but looks like Retro starting to struggle on those tires, and he's staying out. He's just gonna keep going.
Rivas in chat saying Charlie's sheep are streaming this and a movie while he drives. He's running out of bandwidth. Tom Foose getting around Louis Ricard further back, taking up P14. Just to recap, Retro Coffin first whole qualification of the season has held on to this lead since the beginning of the race, and now fighting for his life against Charlie Booth right behind him. Drew Barakovsky into the pits. So let's put you, and we will do that, Rose. I will make sure we do that right now, actually. Let's put you in Charlie Booth's seat right now. When are you hitting the pits? Are you going to look to go ahead and head in before Coffin? See if you can hammer it down, a little bit of an undercut on him. I mean, look, we're down to 35 minutes now. You know, when are you going in? Are you going to under or over on him?
So I think since we're closer to the middle of the race, I feel like the undercut's probably not. Since we're closer to the middle race, I feel like, man, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about Rivas set, and I'm thinking about the last race, and most of the people that took the overcut struggled towards the end. And that was a shorter race than this one. That wasn't an hour-long race. That was a 45-minute. Coffin seems to be losing time, but it seems like Booth can't quite get the pass knocked out. That tells me that you want to get through the pits, get that all taken care of, and let Coffin continue to struggle and lose time on track. Not to mention you're starting to come up to some more blue flags, which are going to cost you time as well. So I really don't. I really see, like, if I'm Charlie Booth, I'm looking at maybe this lap to go in.
Okay.
And then if actually, I just had a thought. I wonder what it would be like if he's fueled for it. I wonder if he plays the game where it's like, I'm going to do the opposite of what Retro does. Like, I'm going to go to midpoint in the race. We're going to start hitting some traffic. If he goes in, I might stay out. Okay. Race leader going through blue flags tends to get a little bit more of very, very much people start to shuffle out of the way because they don't want to ruin the leader's race. So it might be that he might not lose as much time. Okay. So maybe if I'm Booth, I'm like, if I'm fueled for it and I can do the long run, I wait and see what Retro does.
Gotcha. Okay. You go Rivas and usual strategies to fuel for 60 to 75% of the race, and if time drops off, or if traffic becomes an issue, then head in.
And that's exactly what I was just talking about. So Rivas has the bigger brain than me because he got there quicker than I did. But yeah, it is very much I think an instance of do the opposite of what Retro does. If Retro is going to stay out behind traffic and deal with blue flags, go in. But if it looks like he's going to go in, stay out and be the most annoying person behind, like your headlamps turn into a disco ball.
Don't do that now. See, no. Can't do that to people. That's rude.
I mean, you don't do it like constantly. Like you don't do things like some people will do, or they'll map their brake pedal to the flasher.
Jeez, unbelievable.
But yeah, I think especially because it looks like Retro is struggling for pace right now, and Charlie just can't find a way around him. And thank you, Eric. I appreciate the fact that you recognize my level 2, 3, and 4 strategy. Some people would call that strategic genius. Well, I would call that somebody who needs to have a lot of backup plans because his first plans don't work out so well.
Tobias Gable says he went too far into the box, so his pit might not come out looking too good. He is out now, having cleared that pit stop as we keep an eye here on Retro Coffin. We have to keep an eye at 2 for P3. Christoph Arts, Anthony Anderson keep coming back together. A ton of great racing still going on.
Strategic G. Eric, thank you, but no. But no. Charlie Booth, man, 8/10. The longer he stays out, if he lets Coffin control his pace this race, it's going to be tough for him to pull it off. Yeah. I'm sorry. Retro's going to have a moment. And see, here they are. They're pulling up to Burakovsky. He's going to try and take the inside line, I'm assuming, into turn 2. Not close enough to get the move done, so now has a really pinched line exiting turn 2. He does hit the switchback pretty gracefully into turn 3, so now he's got to hope and pray that Burakovsky's willing to back out of it. And he does. And the problem is that he did the same for Charlie Booth.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it is not working out to create the buffer that I think that Coffin was looking for. Like, I'm thinking if you're struggling for pace, I want to go take a look at those average lap times. I want to make sure that I'm not speaking out of school.
Christoph Art's up 1 spot on the day. Anthony Anderson up 2. Take a look at who the big winners so far are. Jace Wright, P6 right now, up 9 spots on the day, along with Rob Kiesar. Both those guys able to pick up 9 positions since the start of this race.
I mean, Coffin's punching in 45s now in terms of lap times.
Wow.
Like the pace is falling off a cliff and needs to seriously consider.
Time to head in, right?
Well, the reason why you're seeing, Eric, the reason why you're seeing it look like him crab walking the corners, it's because he's lagging terribly.
Yeah.
And look at that, following him in.
There you
Although, did you see the snapback on Booth's car? Looked like he was going to go into the barrier,
Yeah.
and then he just like shuffles back to the track. Oh man, that's got to be harrowing.
What happens when you have crocodiles that run your internet service providers?
The Kiwi connection, man. I'm telling you, it's rough out
Well,
there.
we are going to keep eyes right here. Let's see who hits this pit stop and gets out first, because that is going to tell a story. Anthony Anderson heads into the pits with these two.
Anthony Anderson, not somebody we've talked about too much, other than watching him dodge disaster.
Right.
Anthony going to try and get as much as he can out of this pit stop. Try and close the gap up a little bit. Christoph Art's inheriting the lead of this race.
And
Retro's
Charlie
off the
Booth
jacks,
off. They're
but
both
Charlie
off, and we
Booth-
are going out side by side. Wow.
Here, I think Charlie Booth, either that's lag or he's about to get a penalty. Did you see how fast he caught up?
He jumped off those jacks real quick.
Like he is either like, let me switch over.
That could have
I
been
gotta
lag
take a
though. He
look.
kind of had a bounce coming out, right? So
Yeah.
hold on, I can actually do this just for myself real quick, and it's going to look weird for everybody for a minute. I am not seeing a penalty next to
Yeah,
Charlie
see you
Booth's
later,
name,
Eric.
so
Yeah, me either. I think it's legit. It's
Yeah.
just they came off the jacks. It was probably just desync, so it looked like the car was moving faster than it actually was.
yeah.
I bet it gave
Wow.
Coffin a rise.
No kidding, right? So Christoph Art's leading now without that pit stop. John Gray, Jace Wright, Rob Kiesar. Retro Coffin continues to command the lead of this race by about 1 second over Charlie Booth. 26 and a half minutes left to go. Thank you for coming in, Eric. Much appreciated, my man.
All right, I want to take a look at Mr. Anderson.
While you're looking that up, folks, I got to remind you once again, this season sponsored by Next Level Racing, our HF8 haptic feedback system, which one of these lucky drivers will pull at the end of the season. We're going to give that away next week after the Spa race. Also sponsored by SimTrack USA, and they will be handing out a custom dashboard to one of these guys. Again, we'll be doing that next week after the Spa race. And we will be joined by one of the members of SimTrack USA during the course of our stream next week. Gonna come in, help Phil and myself commentate through Spa, at least one of the races, and do that giveaway afterwards. So stick around. Make sure you're here next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern time to catch all of that.
So, question for you, sir.
Yes.
We've got the second half of this race to finish up, and we got the whole first race to talk about. But how do you feel about Hungaroring so far?
Myself?
Yeah.
I think it's fantastic. But you have to understand my perspective sitting here and watching in judgment over these drivers. I hate seeing incidents where one driver hits another one because you're ruining someone's race, right? It's frustration and all this stuff. However, when a driver throws himself around a corner and takes too much curb and decides, to spin in a circle 3 or 4 times, I think it's fantastic. Usually because those people are faster than me. And so then I can, again, look down on them in judgment. No, I look, I like Hungaroring as a track. I've enjoyed driving on it. And I think we've had quite the show today in both races. So many toss-ups, and this is the kind of track that, to me, especially here at the end of the season, that I think is a great place to put it. I would say a Bathurst would be another one, right near the end of the not the last race maybe, but this penultimate race of the season I think is great because we're seeing these drivers struggle, right? It's much more technical than some of the other tracks. There's a lot of corners. There's a lot of things you have to concentrate on. Tire degradation's huge. And so I think having something in there like that kind of levels out the field to where I guess I would say it provides opportunity for guys that maybe aren't as good at, say, an Imola. Maybe they're better at a Hungaroring, and it levels those results a little bit, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying this today. I think it's fantastic. Jace Wright, Rob Keesar, the last two drivers to do their mandatory pit stops. Luce Ricard being chased down by Jarrett Skinner right now. So Retro Coughing, now that gap up again, back up to about 1.3 seconds. Now, given when they went in, we're good. I mean, you would say they're good on tires, right? Both of them?
Yeah. I mean, I think they're good on tires.
You sound sad.
The thing, well, I mean, the thing for me, I'm looking at this data right now, and I'm really trying to make heads or tails of kind of like what I'm seeing.
Okay.
Because given the pace bleed off that we were seeing Retro kind of go through, I was expecting like Charlie Booth to be able to make a jump. We did see Anthony Anderson kind of creep up a little bit closer. He's only 7.4 back. Christoph Arts kind of getting a bit of a breather with Tobias Gable kind of like goofing the pit stop.
Mm-hmm.
So a few of the things that I expected to see kind of influence decisions didn't, and the kind of things that I did not expect to see from certain drivers are making race changing decisions. So for me, I'm still just trying to look through the data and try and really figure out what happened. I mean, for Tobias, it's his pit stop went bad. For Booth, I'm really trying to figure out, it's like was his pace going off at the same time? Did he really have pace in hand and he was just being held up? I really can't tell from the data right now.
Let me ask you this: between Coffin and Booth, who had the better pit stop in this instance? I mean, they look to drop at almost the exact same time, but I'm curious who might have had a slightly better pit.
Let me jump over to my stint chart real quick because it's just so much easier to see it. So 107.7 and 102.8. So Charlie had an amazing pit stop, yet somehow still came out after Retro.
That's very curious. That's 5 seconds.
It is, but it could be down to braking a little too hard on corner entry. Maybe he did actually drop off the jacks with the pit limiter off.
Okay.
But because the way it decides to give you a penalty or not is it's based on your line, your average speed.
Okay.
So like maybe he dropped off the jacks and then took his foot out of it aggressively and just lost a lot of time relative to that. Like, okay. I'm not sure. But it does look like and this has happened with me and Anthony Anderson before, at me talking about like him having like a bad pit stop or something like that. It could be that the actual data from the broadcast app is not telling the truth to pit wall.
Okay.
And there's something else being lost in the mix. But right now it looks to be a 5 second ish gap between.
That can't be right. There's just no way.
Yeah.
5 seconds he would have been past him. I mean, that's a long time.
5 seconds he would have been past him. Again, I'm still trying to figure out like kind of what happened there.
Yeah.
Because his pit stop was Charlie Booth's pit stop, at least from my view of the game, like watching it along with you, was odd. Because when he dropped off the jacks, he just like zips to the end of like basically almost side by side with Retro Coffin, and then slows dramatically to be behind Retro Coffin. I'm just not sure because I'm looking at your feed you've got pit wall running. Pit wall is reporting what your game is seeing. Did something go wrong?
Yeah.
Or the alternative is I'm bad at my job.
Don't call it a job, because if it's a job, somebody has to pay you for it, and it's not going to be me.
I mean, okay.
Well, I'm just saying.
I was gonna make a joke, and then I was like, this is a family show.
The race, though, I mean, we're back to Charlie Booth, Retro Coffin being within like 0.8 to a second of one another. Anthony Anderson's starting to lose a little bit of pace relative to them, which kind of doesn't surprise me. Anthony Anderson's been a little bit off pace from the front runners the whole time. But this would be good points for Anthony Anderson. He comes in third behind Charlie Booth.
Yeah.
Especially if Charlie Booth has, and I need to go take a look at the standings. Like, does Charlie Booth have a worse result than Imola? He has 2 9th place finishes. Charlie Booth has 2 9th place finishes as his worst results.
Okay.
So one of those would get dropped. So he would still have a 9th place finish. Anthony Anderson hangs out and finishes behind Charlie Booth. He's going to be ahead of him in the points.
Okay. Okay.
If you take into consideration the drop rounds. So if I'm Anthony Anderson, I'm not looking at this moment as a crisis. This is not, because Retro Coffin is not near him in the point.
Okay.
Retro Coffin is currently in 8th and has a drop round to his name. So already.
Trying to get over there myself. Oh, where's the pros? Yeah. Yep. So yeah, with now, and that's the part where it screws me up is if Coffin's already got a drop round, he loses no points. Anderson also already has a drop round. But Booth is going to lose points. He's going to drop one of the rounds he's shown up for, right?
Indeed.
Yep. Okay. Right now, though, Rob Keesar continues to chase down Jace Wright. He's not given up this whole time.
Gasolina having a really bad start to of the race and had to drop out. And absent chat for Gasolina. Gasolina is a very, very fun driver. I got first exposed to Gasolina at the series finale. You remember when Box 3, Trackalicious and 949 started the endurance stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Season finale, first season was Bathurst, and I was actually racing in that.
Okay.
And it came down to me bungling the pit stop timer. And Gasolina ended up finishing ahead of me, which, by the way, he soloed that race.
Oh yeah, yeah. He tends to do that. It's crazy. I don't know how he pulls it off.
My first exposure with Gasolina, absolutely cool dude to race with on track. I hope he comes back for Spa. He's so much fun to watch.
Absolutely. I like watching Gaz race. Always. Whoa, and woof. Oh, and a bump right there. Rob Keesar. It's not showing. Yeah, there it goes. Now it's showing the contact. Rob Keesar trying to turn in on Jace Wright. Lost himself some time for his trouble. Jarrett Skinner, it looks like, might have pulled a penalty. Just rolled through the pits. Yes, drive-through cleared on lap 25 for Jarrett Skinner.
And there we go.
You got your first one of the day.
All the naysayers. Now,
we got one.
Yep. We got one. But you know what one means? I'm right.
Yep, that's right. It does.
I said there'd be a DT,
Yes,
and there
you did.
was. What do they say about wrong clocks?
They're right twice a day,
Broken
sir.
clocks? Yeah.
They are right twice a day.
Wrong clocks. What do they say about wrong clocks? Nothing, Philip. Nobody says anything about wrong clocks. It's broken clocks, you idiot.
All they should say is, hey, that clock's wrong. Change the time on it.
Yep, exactly. It's like, what time zone are you in? Like. So Charlie Booth, again, just floating. 8/10 back.
Yeah, Jace
If it
Wright-
finishes like this, I think it's going to be tire degradation was more even between the two cars than I thought.
Well,
That-
both in Porsches.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I honestly love that they both. I love that Booth followed him into the pits.
Mhm.
Because that means this last half of this race, other than fuel load, right? We don't know what fuel load each of them would have put on. But basically, since they hit the pits with about 32 minutes left, this is driver versus driver, right?
Yep.
Obviously, there's differences in tuning and differences in setups. I get that. But they both got tires at the same time. They both got fuel at the same time. So it really comes down to they're in the same car, right? You can't sit back and go, oh, well, he's in a Lamborghini. He has an advantage. Or he's in the Lexus. This is going to be awful for him. They're both in the Porsche.
Yeah.
And so we get to see these two drivers go head to head like this throughout the rest of this race. And I think that's what's fantastic about watching this battle play out. No matter who wins. Charlie Booth now down to a 4/10 disadvantage. Anthony Anderson into the pits. Uh-oh.
Is that a Joker lap for
Let's take a check on Anthony Anderson and see
track
if he
limits?
actually
That
stops.
is not good because he needs to get back out ahead of Tobias Gable.
That is
That ain't gonna happen.
not happening.
He's gonna need. If that's a drive-through, that's a Joker lap.
Yep.
So
Yep, that's a drive-through. There he goes, and we'll see. I will get the.
will he get out in front of Tom Foose?
Ooh, it's gonna be close. Anderson back out and has cleared. Oh, I have an accident between. Oh, Jace Wright, Rob Keesar coming together. I did not see a penalty message saying cleared for Anderson, but I'm sure he did. But just very curious that didn't pop up this time. Rob Keesar continuing to just abuse Jace Wright.
Not seeing one either. I think there might be some goofiness going. I don't think the data is telling us the truth.
Ooh, Keesar trying to make that shot down the inside through T2, and Jace Wright gets a push.
And they are track. And Keesar's going to let him go.
Yep. Keesar giving that back.
Definitely the more honorable road to take.
Absolutely.
So Anderson cycles out behind Fife, but ahead of the 92 car, Lewis Rickard and Tom Foose. So from a points perspective, that's going to be suboptimal to be 2 places behind Booth in the point standing. Which is going to tighten it up between Booth and Anderson going into the final round. With 11 minutes, 30-ish seconds, Mr. Coffin just seems to be in control.
He does. This gap really not closing up at all. Staying about 8/10 to up to 1 second.
It does seem like
Charlie
it closes out of the exit of turn 14 down start finish straight. So I do get the vibe that Charlie Booth is running like lower down, I think,
Gotcha.
than Retro.
Okay. Anthony Anderson again into the pits.
What is happening?
What is going on with Anthony Anderson? He's going through again. This time looks like he's stopping. Did he get a stop go? And that's why it didn't clear? He thought it was a drive-through?
I'm not sure.
We're going to do something again real quick. It's going to make it. Yeah, stop go 30 for Anthony Anderson. Yes. Stop go 30 for Anthony Anderson.
And that is...
After doing a drive-through that apparently was not needed.
That is big. Speeding in the pit lanes while
yeah,
serving a
or
drive-through. That would have been terrible.
Oh, can you imagine?
That would have been terrible.
And Anthony Anderson down now all the way down to 16th place. Coming out of the pits now, and stop go cleared for Anthony Anderson.
Anthony Anderson. I'm so sad.
Wow.
Man. So sad.
Rob Keesar still looking for gap on Jace Wright and unable to find one yet.
Well, Jace Wright is a pretty tough customer on track, so I'm not shocked. Rob Keesar is no pushover either. I am very sad. I am very much Team Ando, and I'm very sad to see.
Oh, I cannot
Right,
wait for
kinda.
recovery drive. He better show up for it now. He didn't show up for this week, so we got to get him on the next one. Tobias Gable keeping it close to John Gray. Louis Ricard keeping up with the number 92 car. A lot of great battles here today at the Hungaroring.
9 minutes left.
Retro Coffin continuing lead Charlie Booth a merry chase, and Booth just unable to close this gap. As you said, you know, down that start finish straight seems to get tighter, down to about 4, maybe 3/10, but nothing closer than that. Has yet to find a way to stay close enough to make an opportunity for himself. And right there, Retro though with a little bit of a slide coming off the curb.
Retro bit cat-like in this race. He's been going through them 9 lives. I've at least seen 3 moments on track, but there might be more when we were not looking. So how many lives does he got left?
Right. Look at Keesar. The stuff in the nose of that Porsche. Up behind Jace Wright. These two have had a great battle the last couple laps. No, very clean, excellent fighting back and forth from these two.
Very, very curious what happened to Ando though. Why the drive-through, then why the stop go?
Yeah, well, and the thing is with the drive-through, I got no message in ACC TV saying that he cleared a drive-through. So either it just missed the message because we had a collision at the same time, or he didn't have a drive-through. He had a stop go 30 and did a drive-through by mistake. I'd hate to think so, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I gotta imagine that's pretty hard to do, but you never know. Number 92 now under attack from Louis Ricard, number 96 car. Jace Wright and Rob Keesar. Rob Keesar able to finally get around after a little bit of contact. Now we'll take over. P10 gets himself into the top 10 with that move. Retro Coffin leading by about 1 second over Charlie Booth. Now just 6 minutes and 40 seconds left to go. Oh, so okay, so Adam's saying he had a drive-through, then got caught speeding in the pits. So yeah, that's exactly what happened. I assume these guys are probably talking in Discord. If and I had to guess. Louis Ricard gets himself around the number 92. Take up P7. Jace Wright not giving up. Rob Keesar taking up P10. Wright has decided he wants it back. Drew Barakovsky now under pressure from Jarrett Skinner. Kipster in the chat. How has it been, sir? Jace Wright now into the pits. So Jace Wright fighting Rob Keesar for all that time, and now looks like Jace has pulled our second drive-through of the day as Barakovsky and Jarrett Skinner get around. Louis Ricard up on still on the back end of the number 92 car.
Yep. Another drive-through. We'll go ahead and just add that to my list of accomplishments. I hear you, Gavs. Hungaroring's just a tough track, man. It's just a tough track, and I feel like low speed tracks where like grip really matters. Like I feel like you get the setup wrong here, and it just feels miserable. Because at least at like a Monza, you get the setup wrong. You got these monster straights where you can just kind of like figure out in real time what you need to do to get through the next series of corners. Hungaroring, you don't. It's like you exit the corner and you're already almost to the next braking zone.
Mm-hmm. How is Hungry Wings going? Well, Mr. Anderson decided that after a drive-through, he liked the pit so much he wanted to stop and look around for 30 seconds. And a lot of people have decided to spin themselves out on curbs. That is for sure. But it's also some great racing today.
I'd really like to know from the drivers what was a tougher race this season. Valencia, Imola, or Hungaroring?
Huh. That's a great question.
Because I really feel like those are the three most. I mean, if he did that in 30 seconds, he needs to go see a doctor. He's a consultative physician with that.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I really honestly feel as though Anderson just drove through the pits, said, you know what? It's pretty nice back here. A little calmer than out there on the racetrack. Maybe I should come back and visit and stay longer.
I mean, I hope at least there was an opportunity to get some concessions. Right?
Something,
like,
right? We talk about
like,
the guy. Hey guys, I'm gonna eat this chicken sandwich. I'll be right back.
Well, Alex, what I'm not necessarily talking about them being bad, is them being like, which of the three was the most difficult? I tend to think those three tracks in particular would be pretty difficult.
And as you can see, Charlie Booth just not able to cut this gap down.
Oh, it's Adam. I'm sorry. I get you and Alex mixed up. I'm not gonna lie. It happens. I make mistakes.
You got to remember, Alex is the one. All you have to remember
I'm human, Adam.
Yeah, all you have to remember is Alex is the one with the weird anime name.
Yes. Yes.
If you can remember that it makes it easier for me, because I do the same thing sometimes.
Well, that's good to know. I'm glad I'm in good company. Minute 48 left. Charlie Booth still maintaining that 1 second gap, which, to be honest, let's think about this from a championship perspective. Retro Coffin wins this race. Charlie Booth's next closest competitor is currently in 15th. Not really that big a deal. Christoph Arts, he's closer, but still like finishing ahead of the guy who's close to you but behind. Still in your benefit. Tobias Gable, kind of like the same deal. Like Tobias Gable's gonna have a drop round, so
yep.
It's still like Charlie Booth. Maybe I should just remember the fact of, as far as the championship is concerned, like Charlie Booth's not in a terrible spot finishing second here.
No, not at all. And it looks like, unless Retro has some sort of mishap here in the last lap, the leader has started the final lap. We follow these two around. This has been close the entire race, though. I mean, I don't think. Phil, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe these two were ever separated by more by 2 seconds.
They were. The gap was larger at the start of the race.
Okay.
Started to close down pretty quick afterwards, because Retro Coffin's pace at the green flag was pretty quick. Like, he was in the high 43s at the start of this race.
Yeah. And again, credit where credit's due. The hair's pace was there.
Okay.
Number 9.
Adam's saying Hungry Wing is actually in the middle between Imola and Valencia in terms of difference. Valencia, I think I was expecting to see more drive-throughs. Well, actually, I mean, it was a wet race, to be fair. That's another thing that we needed to take into consideration for Valencia, but
Let's finish the race.
Retro Coffin taking
There
that
it
win,
is.
man.
Retro Coffin, the winner today, holding on and holding off Charlie Booth. And again, other than, as Phil said right at the beginning of the race, I don't think these two were separated by more than a second and a half the entire time. And number 92 car and Louis Ricard come together. Let's back that up. Let's catch this one. Tom Foose going to jump up to P7 with that. Let's keep an eye here because these two, it looks like, came together.
Yeah, but this seems like this is an unforced error that might have led to a collision because that gap is really big.
Right there.
Until
and
it wasn't.
A push from Louis Ricard. So Lewis did, looks like though that Lewis did give that spot back to the number 92 car, so he will finish in 8th behind Tom Foose. As Foose comes across the line, number 8 car takes that spot back. I'm sorry, the number 92 gets spot 8 back, and Louis Ricard finishes right after. Phil, I don't know. This is a pretty good race today. I mean, we had a lot of craziness going on. Would you not?
There will definitely
agree?
be a lot. There will definitely be a lot for you guys to talk about during recovery.
Oh my, yeah. What do you mean, you guys? You're joining in. Don't worry.
Okay.
100%. We got to get you to join in.
To Adam's point, hardest being because it's a new track and no one's had hours and hours on it. I'd say it's one of the harder tracks because when it comes to the stewarding in game of track limits, there, it kind of seems like they've been hitting the powder a little too hard when making that the off track decisions. But that's me.
But yeah, I don't know. I figured Valencia would be one of the harder ones this year, just because of how
it's
new
definitely
it was.
hard. It's definitely
Yeah.
hard. I think Hungaroring is harder
But
because while Valencia was wet,
Mhm.
people expected it to be tricky. I think Hungaroring was tougher because the off tracks and the incidents were far more penalizing.
Yeah. I think some drivers had a rough time today, a real rough time today. Retro Coffin in the chat saying, "Sheesh, I need a drink." Hold on a second. Don't go anywhere, Phil. I'm gonna try something here.
I'm here.
Give me 1 second. Joining us now so that we can talk about it is Mr. Anthony Anderson.
I don't want to talk about that.
And Anthony, come on. Well, okay, so what happened? You got a drive-through. You served the drive-through,
Well,
and during the
that's
drive-through
not
you
the problem
sped
for me.
or no?
I want to have a talk with the race control after this race because that was not a cut. I was taking that so much harder before, and then I was sitting at 3, and then the next corner I get a cut.
Okay.
And then I take full accountability for the speeding. I completely misjudged it.
So you did. So you went to do your drive-through, then you sped in the pits
Yeah.
and pulled the second penalty. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. But the last track cut is very questionable. I'm watching it right now.
That's a bummer, man.
Unbelievable. Well,
As a fan club member of Team Ando, like I was very sad to see it, for sure.
Especially considering I did so much work to jump Christoph in the pits,
Yep.
which
Unbelievable.
was huge. That was my goal. I was stuck behind him for a good while. I was like, I got to get a jump on him.
unbelievable. Well, I had to pull you up because you missed recovery drive this week. I didn't know if you're going to make next week or not. So I want to make sure that we got the story here now before, you don't show up for recovery drive because you don't want to talk about it.
No, I should be there.
All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you, Anthony, for coming up and talking to us for a minute.
I hope you have a good spa, man. I still think it's close. So I think with the drop round,
I mean, I'd have to see where the standings fall after that. I mean, the drop round will knock out my do not start.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how bad this one is, and then I know I have a 6th place. So
yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, man.
All right,
Look
buddy.
forward to seeing you in the spa.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait for next week. Phil, I can't wait for next week so you and I can have some fun at Spa. The last race of the season, and pretty much every class is up for grabs. I mean, you know, maybe the pro-ams are kind of locked for P1, but I think overall, everything's kind of up for grabs next week. So what are you looking forward to at Spa?
I mean, it's kind of more of the same that the season. The one thing that the season has kind of like hit on for me is 1.9 has really been tricky, and I feel like Spa is going to be tricky as well for me. And I want to see how the cars do with the tire degradation, especially with the longer running stint times. So.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I certainly can't wait. Don't forget, folks, we're back for Recovery Drive this Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can join myself. Probably not Phil if it's on Thursday, but maybe we'll move it to Friday on purpose. I don't know. I really loved having Phil there this week. But myself, Anderson, usually Retro joins us. We're going to get to talk to him and his hair about the win today. Great driving from Retro Coffin. And then again, next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern, endurance racing at Spa to finish out season 6 of PCACC racing for Box 3 Motorsports. Phil, anything to close us out, sir?
Nothing. This was so much fun. I'm glad I got to do it.
Fun, absolutely. Ton of fun. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. My name is Adam. He's Phil Mill. You can join us next week, again, back here for Spa. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys in 1 week. Have a good one.
See you guys later.